From a blind date came a sister who is a CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 676, Winning People's Hearts. I'm miserable. Haha. This is a big joke. Song Qijiang laughed loudly, then looked at Liu Ziyuan and said, whether I'm miserable or not, you definitely can't see it, but I'm sure that, if you don't agree to me, you will be miserable. That may not be the case. At this time, a voice sounded from the side. Instructor. Su Weifeng. Song Qijiang and Liu Ziyuan shouted at the same time. Liu Ziyuan was surprised, while Song Qijiang was filled with anger. Then Song Qijiang immediately looked at Song Chengfang, who was with Su Weifeng, and said with a gloomy face, "Second uncle, what do you mean by this?" Song Chengfang laughed and said, "Qijiang, Weifeng is now my assistant, and he will be a member of our Song family in the future. If there was any feud between you and me in the past, let's forget it for my sake." Song Qijiang said angrily, "Second uncle, you are going too far. You knew that I had a feud with him, but you still recruited him. Are you just trying to lose face for me?" Song Chengfang smiled and looked like a kind elder, and said, "Qijiang, our Song family is in need of people. Talents like Su Weifeng are definitely the most needed in the family. Having Su Weifeng is equivalent to recruiting several family generals. You should put the overall situation of the family first." Song Qijiang looked at Su Weifeng fiercely, then twitched his mouth, and said, "Second uncle, you are really calculating." Song Chengfang said with a smile, "We old guys, but we are helping you build your kingdom. You young people are too impetuous. We have to help you steer the ship." Song Qijiang's face was gloomy, but he finally gritted his teeth and said, "Second uncle taught me that, since he is a member of our Song family, if he dares to offend me again, don't blame me for being rude." Song Chengfang laughed and said, "Don't worry, he only works for the Song family, and will not target individuals." Song Qijiang got in the car, slammed the door, and then the sports car roared away crazily. Liu Ziyuan looked at Su Weifeng gratefully and said, "Instructor, thank you. Thank me." Su Weifeng shook his head and said, "If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have encountered such trouble." Song Chengfang laughed and said, "I still admire Director Liu's work ability. I will talk to your leader later to see if there is any suitable position and promote it. Talents like you must be reused." Liu Ziyuan was a little confused, but he already knew Song Chengfang's identity. What the other party said was definitely not a joke. Su Weifeng patted Liu Ziyuan on the shoulder and said, "Just work with peace of mind. As long as you are upright and have a clear conscience, that's enough." Liu Ziyuan watched Su Weifeng and Song Chengfang leave in the car. He couldn't help but admire them secretly. An instructor is an instructor. He can directly make friends with such an important person in the Song family and have such a big say. He just lit another cigarette when his cell phone rang. It turned out to be the leader of the bureau. "Ziyuan, come back quickly. Things seem to have changed." Liu Ziyuan's heart tightened and said, "What changes?" But, come back quickly." Liu Ziyuan took a deep breath. Although Song Chengfang had said it just now, it turned out to be a reality immediately, which still shocked him. When he returned to the bureau leader smiled and patted his shoulder, looking Liu Ziyuan up and down, and said, "Liu, you are quite capable. The higher-ups just wanted to do this, so I asked you to settle it." Liu Ziyuan laughed dryly and said, "It should be that the higher-ups made a mistake. I have always been conscientious in my work. I have never violated the law or abused my power for personal gain." That's possible, but if they really made a mistake, they would definitely just leave you alone. Now, I heard that you may be promoted. Liu Ziyuan's mouth twitched secretly. This life has been ups and downs, which is really exciting. Su Weifeng came to a building at this time, and followed Song Chengfang into a large office. A beautiful female secretary immediately poured coffee for the two of them. Song Chengfang smiled and said, "Xiao, this is Su Weifeng, and you will be my assistant in the future." "Hello, Assistant Su." The secretary named Xiao Yu had a look of surprise on her face, and then took a deep look at Su Weifeng, as if she wanted to remember Su Weifeng deeply in her heart. Song Chengfang laughed and said, Xiao, are you curious about why I suddenly found an assistant? Xiao nodded and said, yes, this is the first time that the second master has found an assistant. Song Chengfang smiled and said, that's because I haven't met the right one. Assistant Su is the talent I have been waiting for. Xiao, from now on, Assistant Su's words will be equivalent to my words. Do you understand? I understand. Xiao nodded again quickly, and then said to Su Weifeng, Assistant Su, please take care of me in the future. Su Weifeng nodded and said, we all work for the second master, let's work hard together. This Song Chengfang is really a character. At least this method of winning people's hearts is still used well. These two casual sentences with Xiao reflect his regard for Su Weifeng. After Xiao Yu left, Su Weifeng immediately said, thank you, second master, for valuing me. Song Chengfang laughed and said, I'm a person who does not use people if I doubt them, and I do not doubt people if I use them. Since you have agreed to follow me, I must give you enough trust. Su Weifeng also flattered him and said, second master's demeanor is indeed extraordinary and impressive. This role always requires getting into it little by little. Song Chengfang nodded and said, I will send you the basic situation of our Song family later. You can read it carefully. I will only pick out some important things to tell you now. Second master, please tell me, I will remember it. Song Chengfang narrowed his eyes and said, the current situation of our Song family is that the old man is seriously ill and has not been conscious. It is estimated that he will not have many good days to live. The most important thing is that when he was conscious, he did not have a clear candidate for the head of the family. Now that the old man is not dead, everyone is still restrained, but as long as the old man dies, the people of the Song family will definitely fight for the head of the family. Su Weifeng frowned and said nothing. Song Chengfang continued, there are 4 second generation disciples in the Song family, the eldest, Song Chengshan, me, the third, Song Chengren, who is Song Hejiang's father, and the fourth, Song Chengaiyu. Among these people, my eldest brother and fourth brother are not keen on the position of family head, or it can be said that their personalities and strengths are not enough, so they withdrew from the competition for family head early. The third brother, Song Chengren, and I are of similar strength, or it can be said that the third brother is stronger than me. Su Weifeng frowned slightly and said in pretended confusion, second master, this kind of thing sounds a bit confusing to me. If the old man passes away, you can just divide the family property. Why do you have to fight for the position of family head? Chapter 677. Big deal. Song Chengfang shook his head and said, this is the difference between our family and ordinary rich people. Su Weifeng said, then please help me, second master. Song Chengfang said, a big family like ours has not only superficial things like property and assets, but also social influence and various resources. As long as the family is there, these things are there. If the family is divided, then these things will no longer be under control. Our big family will be no different from ordinary families. Even if there is still a lot of money, our social status will be reduced a lot. Su Weifeng nodded and said, so no one wants to lose this status. No one will split up. They still have to maintain this family. Song Chengfang nodded and said, yes, my eldest brother and the fourth brother are actually very smart. They don't fight for the position of head of the family. No matter who becomes the head of the family, they can guarantee their status in the family in the end. If I fight with the third brother, the winner will naturally become the real head of the family, but the loser will not be able to stay in the family anymore. The final result is not as good as the eldest and the fourth brother. Su Weifeng said, benefits and risks are linked, so second master, you either succeed or die. Yes, but since I have embarked on this path, I can't retreat, even if I want to, and you have also seen what kind of person Song Hejiang is. If the Song family really falls into the hands of them, our Song family will be in danger. For the sake of the Song family, I can't let them succeed. I must control the Song family in my own hands. Su Weifeng frowned and said, this matter involves quite a lot. I'm afraid that I can't play any role. Song Chengfang laughed and said, Weifeng, you are belittling yourself. let alone other things. Your kung fu can play a very big role. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and said, what use can my kung fu be? It's just a fight. You are competing for the position of the head of the family, and you can't fight to get it. Just like my current career, kung fu is completely useless. What is really useful is the brain and various social connections. Song Chengfang laughed again and said, you are wrong. Maybe under normal circumstances, kung fu is really useless, but in family struggles, force is also an important manifestation of strength. Whether a family head can recruit all kinds of talents to assist him is also an important link. I found someone like you who can suppress all the masters of the third brother. In this link, I can suppress him. Su Weifeng said with sudden enlightenment. So that's the case. Then I understand. If there is a need for me to take action in this regard, I will definitely not let you down. Second master. Song Chengfang nodded and said, this is just one aspect. In fact, I feel that you also have a good brain, but you just didn't have the opportunity to display it before. So you have to participate more in some of the things I do in the future, and learn from me. I feel that you will definitely be able to become my right-hand man better. Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and said, these things are probably difficult for me to learn. There is no rush for this. You just need to encounter them a few more times. Here, these are for you. Song Chengfang said, throwing 2 keys to Su Weifeng, 1 car key, and 1 house key. Song Chengfang said again, a BMW 7 Series, you can drive it at will first. You also need a place to stay here. If I don't have any special instructions in the future, you will come here to work normally, and you must have your own place to rest and relax at ordinary times. Su Weifeng hurriedly said, this, then I won't be polite. What are you polite about? You also have this card. There is 1 million in it. I will give you 1 million every month in the future. I know that you don't really care about this little money. This is just a token of my appreciation now. When I really become the head of the family, I can give you more benefits at that time. Su Weifeng also took it without hesitation. After all, he is the vice president of a company with a net worth of over 100 million. Of course, he can't show too much importance to this benefit. Song Chengfang said again, I must go back and negotiate with the third brother about today's matter. I won't take you there today. After a few days, you will naturally meet the real core figures of the Song family. You should go back to your residence and settle down first. Su Weifeng came out of the company's building and found the BMW 7 Series, a BMW 740, a luxury executive version. The cheapest car would cost at least 1 or 200,000. Song Chengfang didn't say to give it to him directly, but it was almost enough. Song Chengfang was really generous. According to the address given by Song Chengfang, Su Weifeng drove to a community. After finding the house number, he was a little surprised. This is also a villa. It is a townhouse similar to his own home, all 3 floors. From the outside, this villa is at least more than 300 square meters in total. Buncheng is bigger than Yangcheng, and the housing prices here are definitely higher than Yangcheng. This villa is well decorated, and it must be at least more than 5 million. Even if this kind of industry can be recovered, it can definitely reflect Song Chengfang's sincerity. Su Weifeng couldn't help shaking his head. He really didn't expect that he just beat up Song Qijiang, but he could make Song Chengfang appreciate it so much, and he was willing to invest so much. After opening the door with the key, 2 young girls came out of the kitchen. Ah, sorry, I went the wrong way. Su Weifeng subconsciously left the room. The 2 girls saluted in unison, and then said in unison, Mr. Su, this is your home. We are your maids. Maid. Su Weifeng's eyes widened immediately. The 2 girls were wearing maid outfits. What's going on? Sending a villa and a maid. Song Chengfang is too thoughtful, isn't he? The 2 girls came to Su Weifeng quickly. One handed him a wet wipe, and the other squatted down to take off Su Weifeng's shoes. Su Weifeng said a little embarrassedly, it doesn't have to be like this, right? The 2 girls smiled sweetly and said, Mr. Su, this is what we should do. Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, there is such treatment, which really surprised me a little. After helping Su Weifeng take off his shoes, the girl even changed Su Weifeng into slippers. Su Weifeng is now an assistant to Song Chengfang who is about to be bribed. So at this time, the two girls were sent by Song Chengfang, maybe to monitor him, which is still very likely. So Su Weifeng had nothing to be hypocritical about, and simply enjoyed the service of the two. Walking into the living room, Su Weifeng turned his head and looked around, and said, "Apart from me, is there anyone else here?" "No, this villa is yours, Mr. Su, and there are only two of us serving you here. If you are not satisfied, you can change them, or send more people." Chapter 678 Two Little Maids. Su Weifeng walked around upstairs and downstairs. Although the decoration of this villa cannot be called luxurious, it is much more exquisite than that of ordinary people, especially such a big house. For him to live alone, it is a special luxury. In addition, there are two beauties in maid costumes serving him. This luxury is even higher. Su Weifeng also knew the names of the two girls. One is Liu King and the other is Liu Jia. Both of them have the surname Liu, but they are not real sisters. There is no shortage of daily necessities in the villa, but there are not many clothes. Liu King said, "Mr. Su, it's still early. Do you want us to accompany you to buy some clothes to change?" Su Weifeng nodded and said, "Okay, let's go out for a walk." The two hurriedly changed their clothes. They both lived downstairs. Each of them had a room. After changing out of the maid costumes, the two were also youthful and beautiful, very moving. This time, it was Liu King who drove the car, and Liu Jia sat in the back with Su Weifeng. As soon as the car started, Liu Jia turned sideways and massaged Su Weifeng's legs. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "This service is so thoughtful." Liu Jia pursed her lips shyly and said softly, "We serve Mr. Su, so we must satisfy him. If he is dissatisfied, we will satisfy him." "Oh, go to bed?" Su Weifeng asked directly. Liu Jia bit her lip and said softly, "Of course, we have all received systematic training, and in this regard, we will also give Mr. Su a different feeling." "Oh, we have training in this aspect?" Su Weifeng's eyes widened immediately. "Yes, but Mr. Su, don't worry. We are not training with real men, but learning the movements and the essence of them. We ourselves are still virgins." "Oh my god." Su Weifeng widened his eyes again, his mouth twitching, and said, "You are still virgins, and you have learned a lot of things about going to bed?" Liu Jia nodded and said, "Yes, our bodies are absolutely clean. Mr. Su can rest assured about this." Su Weifeng touched his hair, then rubbed his nose, and said, "I'm really a little scared. Two beautiful girls like you. If normal, then finding a good family is not a problem at all. Why do you do such a thing?" Liu Jia smiled slightly and said, "We are from the Song family. Serving the Song family, that is a lifelong pursuit." Su Weifeng frowned, and suddenly understood that these two girls should have been raised by the Song family since childhood, and then given enough training, and then used to win over various important people. A hero is hard to resist the beauty. The value of these two girls is higher than any luxury car or villa. But this matter made Su Weifeng a little overwhelmed. It was clear that he could do whatever he wanted. As a man, he put two beautiful women in front of him and did nothing. That was definitely a problem. It would definitely make Song Chengfang suspicious. These two girls were trained by the Song family. Their loyalty to the Song family was reflected in their words. He was just the object of their service. If Su Weifeng was not good for the Song family, these two girls would obviously stand on the side of the Song family. These two girls were not only used for surveillance, but also as two touchstones. Haha, second master, this is really a big deal. I will thank you very much later. Su Weifeng laughed, and held Liu Jia's hand. As a man, how could he not express his feelings for the beautiful women in front of him? Liu Jia's little hand pulled back, but she did not completely get out of Su Weifeng's grasp. She looked shy and afraid, but she did not dare to disobey. Even though Su Weifeng felt that this might be trained, he had to admit that this girl really made him feel hot. He just wouldn't let go of her hand. Liu Jia was so shy and didn't respond much, but even the occasional glance was enough to seduce people. It was clear that she had a good grasp of the scale of teasing men's nerves little by little. Fortunately, the car soon stopped at the parking lot under the mall. Liu Jia said shyly, "Mr. Su, let's go shopping first, and then, when we go back, At this point, Liu Jia hesitated to speak, which was even more tempting. Su Weifeng laughed and said, "Okay, good food is never too late. With you two beauties accompanying me, I'm afraid I will never be able to bear to leave here again." The three of them came to the mall, and Liu King and Liu Jia helped Su Weifeng choose clothes. First, they went to a store, and Liu King and Liu Jia helped Su Weifeng pick out 2 sets of clothes. When they arrived at the fitting room, Su Weifeng had just come in, and Liu King followed him in. "What are you doing here?" Su Weifeng asked subconsciously. "I'm here to help Mr. Su change his clothes. Is it not necessary?" Su Weifeng almost refused directly, but when the word came to his lips, he still showed a hesitation. "Mr. Su, this is our responsibility. I will help Mr. Su take off his coat first." As he spoke, Liu King had already pulled the zipper of Su Weifeng's coat with both hands. Su Weifeng had no choice but to cooperate. The clothes Su Weifeng wanted to try were a complete set of casual clothes, so in addition to the coat, the pants had to be taken off as well. Liu King took off Su Weifeng's coat and hung it on the hanger in the fitting room, then squatted directly in front of Su Weifeng and started to untie Su Weifeng's belt with both hands. As a man, Su Weifeng had to admit that this scene was too easy to make people think about it. Liu King's hand movements were very light, without any unnecessary contact, but it aroused a man's expectations. Even Su Weifeng had to admit that he really hoped that Liu King's hand made a little mistake. Finally, he took off his pants, and Su Weifeng actually felt disappointed, which made Su Weifeng despise himself. "Let me do it myself. If you continue like this, I can't help but do something to you here." When putting on his pants, Su Weifeng directly pulled them up by himself, and then tied his belt by himself. Liu King's face was slightly red, bit his lips, and whispered, "I didn't do anything. You just don't do anything, so you're teasing." Su Weifeng directly reached out and gently pinched Liu King's face. Well, Su Weifeng is still showing the kind of frivolousness that a man should have. Liu King stared at Su Weifeng in amazement, as if he was frightened by Su Weifeng's frivolous action. Su Weifeng laughed. Although he knew that Liu King's expression was also trained, at least he was no longer so passive. After putting on a set of clothes, Liu King and Liu Jia were both arranging Su Weifeng's clothes in front of the mirror. Their movements were even more careful and gentle. The other customers in the store were staring with their eyes. Two beauties, serving a man so attentively, especially the intoxication in the eyes of these two girls, made people envious. Chapter 679, The Flirtatious Little Fairy. The two of them had good taste. The clothes they chose for Su Weifeng were very suitable and fit his temperament. Su Weifeng simply let go. When trying on clothes, he deliberately took advantage of the two girls. It seemed that he was making the two girls shy. These two girls were tools of the Song family, so he couldn't treat them as normal girls. When Su Weifeng was trying on clothes, he sent a message to Cao Cao, asking her when she would come over. He needed Cao Cao to come over now, otherwise he couldn't continue his play. He couldn't really sleep with Liu King and Liu Jia, right? But Cao Cao didn't reply to the message at all, and no one knew where she went. After buying a few sets of outerwear, the three of them came to the underwear area. Men's and women's are separated. On the men's side, there are not so many eye-catching colors, and the people who buy underwear here are basically all women. For men, it's enough to have a few of these things, as long as they are comfortable to wear, and they don't care about the style. But Liu King and Liu Jia were quite serious. They took the initiative to pick and choose. "Mr. Su, I feel this one is very good." Liu Jia picked one, and then took it to Su Weifeng to compare. Liu King whispered in Liu Jia's ear, "This one doesn't seem to work. It's a bit thin." Thin? Liu Jia's face was full of confusion. "Yes, I just accompanied Mr. Su to try on outerwear and saw Mr. Su's." Liu King suddenly looked enlightened, then shyly glanced at Su Weifeng and put down the underwear. Liu King's voice was very low, but it was still heard by Su Weifeng. This kind of secret discussion is simply a greater compliment to a man. Even Su Weifeng felt proud when he heard it. Su Weifeng was really impressed by the Song family now. How did they train such a girl? Such a girl used beauty tricks. Even a strong man, even a straight man, couldn't handle it. She must be used by the Song family. After buying clothes, the three return home. Liu King went upstairs to pack Su Weifeng's clothes. He ironed and hung up his outerwear and washed his underwear before he could wear it. He thought that there were several girls at home, but it was completely different from the feeling now. Sun Yumeng was also very caring, but that was his favorite girlfriend, so Su Weifeng was reluctant to let Sun Yumeng do too much, and Sun Yumeng was just doing things instinctively. Liu King and Liu Jia were really serving Su Weifeng, and the feeling they gave was completely different, and the enjoyment was completely indescribable. The doorbell rang, and Liu King and Liu Jia were not downstairs. Su Weifeng went over excitedly and opened the door. He thought it was Teo, the girl, but it was Chu Yuxi standing at the door. "Hello, Assistant Su." Chu Yuxi greeted with a smile. Su Weifeng smiled and let Chu Yuxi in, saying, "You found where I live so quickly. How are you planning to harm me this time?" Chu Yuxi said in a reproachful tone, "I've already said that I had no choice at that time. Now you're the assistant of the second master. I'm here to curry favor with you. How dare I harm you? If you say a word in front of the second master, I'll be dead without a burial place." Su Weifeng waved his hand, motioned for Chu Yuxi to sit down, and said with squinted eyes, "Really? Then who knows? Anyway, I'm afraid of you." Chu Yuxi pouted and said resentfully, "Huh, men like you are so bad. You did that to me, and now you're denying it, after you put on your pants." Su Weifeng rolled his eyes and said, "Mr. Chu, this is definitely the saddest memory of my life. I was actually sued for rape, and was arrested and interrogated for a whole night." Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, "Life must be enriched to make it worthwhile." Liu Jia walked down from upstairs. Chu Yuxi was surprised and said, "You have a new person so soon." Liu Jia said quickly, "I'm Mr. Su's servant Liu King. Madam, what would you like to drink?" Chu Yuxi said, "If there is coffee, please have a cup. Please wait a moment." Liu Jia went to make coffee. Chu Yuxi narrowed her eyes and looked at Su Weifeng with an ambiguous look, saying, "Where did you hire this servant from? She is beautiful and sensible. I will hire two for you." Su Weifeng shrugged his shoulders and said, "Where can I hire such a servant? This was arranged for me by the second master." The second master arranged it. Oh my god, this is a maid specially trained by the Song family. She is also a treasure in the Song family. It seems that there are no maids sent out now. There are less than 10 of them. I actually arranged one for you. There is another one upstairs. Su Weifeng pointed upstairs. Damn it. Chu Yuxi actually cursed and said, "This second master thinks too highly of you. It seems that I have obviously underestimated your importance to the second master." Su Weifeng said in surprise, "Is that so? Aren't they just two beautiful girls? As long as the price is enough, is it difficult to find them?" Chu Yuxi rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, "You don't understand this. Girls from outside come to be servants. Can their motives be pure? And they are not obedient. The ones trained by the Song family are definitely top notch. Not only are they first class at doing things, but they are also extremely obedient, especially." Chu Yuxi gave Su Weifeng another ambiguous look and said, "They are all trained in bed and know how to please men. You'd better be careful, or they will exhaust you to death in 2 days." Su Weifeng's old face suddenly blushed and said, "Am I such a shameless person? Moral integrity?" Chu Yuxi glared at Su Weifeng and said, "It's okay for you to talk about moral integrity with others, but why are you talking about this to me? What did you do to me last night? Do you think I was really drunk and didn't remember anything?" Su Weifeng laughed and said, "I still regret it now. I shouldn't have hesitated at that time and just did you directly. Now I think it's too much of a loss." Chu Yuxi touched his chin and said, "You are so valued by the second master now. Maybe you will be able to enter the core position of the Song family in the future. If I follow you, it seems that I will have a good backer." Su Weifeng stretched out his hand to lift Chu Yuxi's chin and said, "I think this will work, so you can stay here today." Chu Yuxi gently pushed Su Weifeng's hand away and said angrily, "HMPH, do you think I'm that kind of casual person? If I hadn't drunk too much yesterday, you wouldn't have been able to touch me. Even if it was Song Hejiang, he wouldn't have had a chance to touch me. I don't even look down on him." Your current status is still a long way from Song Jiang. It's a bit too early for you to want to be my backer. Su Weifeng couldn't help but admire Qiao Yushan. He was originally going to ask Qiao Yushan these words, but now she actually said them out loud, which made it difficult for him to perform. Chapter 680 Seeking Help. Liu Jia came over to serve coffee. Qiao Yushan took a sip and praised, "This skill is really good, absolutely professional, worthy of being cultivated by the Song family." Liu Jia smiled and said, "Thank you for the compliment. I'll go prepare dinner now." Qiao Yushan immediately said, "Bring me a portion. I'll come and have a meal too." Su Weifeng was still thinking about how to get Qiao Yushan to stay, but now he saved the trouble. Su Weifeng didn't have any intentions to let Qiao Yushan stay, but with her around, he wouldn't have to face Liu King and Liu Jia alone and wait until Tao Tao came, and he wouldn't have to have anything to do with these two girls. Now that there are so many women around him, he has a great sense of responsibility in his attitude towards women. If there is no real love, he really doesn't want to move. Liu Jia was cooking, and Liu King also came down, but she didn't go to help Liu Jia, but waited for Su Weifeng's instructions at any time. Qiao Yushan took another sip of coffee and said, "Come on, let's continue the topic we were just talking about." The topic we were just talking about. Su Weifeng forgot about the topic we were just talking about after being interrupted by Liu King and Liu Jia. After thinking about it, he said speechlessly, "What else is there to talk about? I don't meet your requirements at all." Qiao Yushan chuckled and said, "You don't meet the requirements now, but you can work hard. When you meet my requirements, I can agree." Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "Mr. Chu, are you too self-satisfied? Su Weifeng, am not someone who lacks women. I have two little beauties like this serving me every day, and I don't have to coax them at all. Why should I bother you?" Qiao Yushan kicked Su Weifeng and said angrily, "Men like you are really unreliable. If you have a new person, you don't want the old one." Su Weifeng shrugged and said, "It's easier this way. I really don't like being a bootlicker." "You." Qiao Yushan clenched her fists, looking like she was going to eat Su Weifeng. "Besides, women like you are too unpredictable." Su Weifeng shook his head repeatedly. "You are simply a coward." Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "If a man spends all his time guessing a woman's mind, how can he have time to do his career? How can he become a strong man?" Qiao Yushan was speechless for a moment, snorted, then touched his chin and said, "It seems that what you said makes sense. A real man should attract women. Is that what you mean?" "That's about right." Su Weifeng shrugged. Qiao Yushan raised her chin and said, "Then I want to see what you can do that I will appreciate. If there is such a day, I will definitely serve you like them. You work hard." Su Weifeng shook his head gently and said, "I do not do my career for you to see, but for myself. It doesn't matter whether you are satisfied or not. I will not work hard for your standards. You." Qiao Yushan was a little angry again, and her chest rose and fell sharply, as if she was irritated by Su Weifeng. Puff. But soon, Qiao Yushan actually laughed directly, and laughed louder and louder. In the end, she laughed so hard that she shook and fell on the sofa, looking like she couldn't control herself at all. Su Weifeng made Qiao Yushan laugh so hard that she was stunned, but he didn't say anything. He picked up the coffee cup and drank it slowly, admiring Qiao Yushan's performance. After a long while, Qiao Yushan's laughter slowly stopped. She then took a tissue and gently wiped the corners of her eyes, saying, "I'm dying of laughter. Oh my, I have lost all my image." Su Weifeng slowly sipped his coffee, seemingly unaware of Qiao Yushan's reaction. Qiao Yushan finally stopped talking completely, then rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, "Why don't you ask me why I'm laughing?" "Oh, then why are you laughing?" Qiao Yushan immediately rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng again and said, "Can you be more sincere? This is too perfunctory." Su Weifeng shrugged his shoulders and said, "Then I ask you sincerely, why are you laughing?" Qiao Yushan was a little depressed by Su Weifeng, and said, "You guy, you really make me angry." Then he kicked Su Weifeng again, and then said, "I just think you are funny. Anyway, I want to laugh when I listen to you." Su Weifeng said seriously, "Then just laugh. Laughing will make people forever young and the body will not get sick." Chu Yuxi was really made angry by Su Weifeng and snorted, saying, "Then should I be by your side every day in the future so that I can stay young? Sure, with a beauty like you by my side, I will be in a good mood." Liu King came over at this time and invited the two to eat. Su Weifeng and Chu Yuxi sat down, and Liu King and Liu Jia stood behind them, serving them food and wine. "Sit down and eat together." Su Weifeng greeted them. "Thank you, sir, but we can't eat with you. It's against the rules." Su Weifeng said casually, "There's no one else here, so there's no need to talk about so many rules." Liu King said hurriedly, "Sir, we still have to serve you. Besides, if servants eat with their masters, the rules will be messed up." Liu Jia followed up, "Thank you, sir, for treating us like this, but we have to keep our duties." Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, "Don't pretend to be a good person here. If you want to pull them to bed, they won't refuse, but this kind of thing has long been deeply rooted in their bones." Su Weifeng looked at the two and said, "Okay then. Having two maids in maid outfits serving dinner is a completely different feeling, just like eating in a top 5-star hotel." After dinner, Chu Yuxi got up and said, "Not bad, not bad. The dishes you cook are really good. I will come here more often to eat." Su Weifeng frowned and said, "Are you leaving?" "Of course I'm leaving. Now you want me to serve you in bed, but that's not possible. Anyway, there are two little beauties, which is not enough for you to toss and turn, right?" Chu Yuxi twisted her waist and left with a chuckle. Su Weifeng was really afraid to be alone with the two of them now, so he said directly, "I'm going back to my room to deal with something." "It's nothing, don't disturb me. If I have something to deal with, I naturally don't need to do it in front of you two maids, which is completely reasonable." Back in the bedroom, Su Weifeng first sent a message to Teo, but this girl just didn't reply. He called him, but she didn't answer. Su Weifeng had to send a message to Meng Keqing. Meng Keqing replied immediately, "Where is Teo? Why hasn't she come yet? Do you miss her so much?" Meng Keqing asked teasingly. "I'm not missing her, but I have been arranged to have two maids." PFFT. There are two maids. You are treated well. I know that the maids of the Song family are very good. You are lucky. Su Weifeng's face suddenly turned black. Meng Keqing can still make a joke at this time. Doesn't she know that she is in dire straits now? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 681 Meticulous. You know that the maids of the Song family are like this, so you are still at ease with me being with them? Meng Keqing gave a bright smile. What's there to worry about? It's just two more people to serve you. Who of the ones you find now can serve you well? With two people like this, you will enjoy yourself at home in the future. Don't make a fuss. This is too awkward. When will Teo come over? She has already arrived in Bincheng. Who knows where she is going to play, but she should be here soon. Su Weifeng was relieved. Then the two chatted for a few more sentences, and Meng Keqing had something to do. Su Weifeng sent a video to Lin Zhuangxuan again. He hasn't told Lin Zhuangxuan and the others in detail about the things here. He roughly said that he would stay here for a while, and Lin Zhuangxuan said a little unhappy, "Why are you still staying there when you go out to play?" Su Weifeng could only say that this was a task. Although Lin Zhuangxuan was still a little unhappy, she could only express her support and let Su Weifeng finish the work as soon as possible. After chatting with everyone for a while, more than an hour had passed. However, Tao, the damn girl, had not come yet, and she still didn't answer the phone. If it weren't for Tao's identity, Su Weifeng would know that when Tao appeared, there were people secretly protecting her, and those people would only leave when Tao was with him. Otherwise he would be worried that something had happened to this girl. A person's footsteps sounded outside, and then stopped outside the door. This must be one of Liu King and Liu Jia's Han. This person should not be here to eavesdrop on him, but should be waiting outside the door to serve him. It seemed that he had been staying in the room all the time, which didn't make sense, so Su Weifeng had to get up and open the door. Sir, Standing outside the door was Liu Jia, and the little girl immediately saluted Su Weifeng, still wearing the blue and white maid outfit. Su Weifeng nodded and said, "Why are you here?" Liu Jia smiled sweetly and said, "I'm waiting for the master's instructions." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "I don't have anything to do. You don't have to watch over me like this." Liu Jia said seriously, "If the master calls me for something, and I can't hear it, then I'm not serving him well enough." Su Weifeng also saw that it was useless to say these things, so he stopped caring about them. "Sir, do you want to take a shower?" "Yes." Su Weifeng nodded. "Then please wait a moment, sir. I'll go and run the water for you right away." After saying that, Liu Jia hurried to the bathroom on the 3rd floor. Su Weifeng went downstairs first, and Liu King was on the 1st floor. Su Weifeng also saw that the two girls should take turns to serve him. One followed him closely, waiting for his instructions at any time, and the other was doing some chores. In this way, one of them would have some time to rest, and there would always be someone to take orders. This kind of service is really meticulous. After waiting for a while, Teo still didn't come, so Liu King said to Su Weifeng, "Sir, the water is ready. Please go take a shower." Su Weifeng agreed, and went upstairs directly. The bathroom was filled with steam, like a fairyland, and when Su Weifeng saw Liu Jia inside, his eyes widened. "What's going on? What's going on? Is this a bit too exciting?" Su Weifeng couldn't help but wail in his heart, Teo, if you don't come again, I'm really going to make a mistake." Liu Jia was still wearing the maid outfit, but the steam in the bathroom made her clothes wet. The clothes were not the kind that would become transparent once they got wet, but they were already tightly attached to her body, which didn't seem to be anything to see. But Su Weifeng knew that Liu Jia would definitely let him take advantage of her. Thinking of this, the girl's appearance at this time was indescribably tempting. Liu Jia smiled sweetly at Su Weifeng and said, "Sir, please check if the water temperature is suitable." Su Weifeng reached into the bathtub and felt the water temperature. The water temperature was just right. He said, "Very good." Liu Jia bit her lips lightly, her face suddenly turned red, and her voice suddenly became much softer. She lowered her head and said, "Sir, then I will help you take a bath." This. Su Weifeng rubbed his nose and said, "I have never had anyone help me take a bath before. I'm really embarrassed." Liu Jia looked up at Su Weifeng, and a little smile immediately appeared on her shy face. She said, "I have only bathed girls before, and it is the first time for a man to." Such words were really too provocative. Su Weifeng's heart suddenly became hot. "Well, you damn Teo, if you don't show up, it's not my fault." Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, "Then take a bath." Liu Jia came over to undress Su Weifeng immediately. However, when her fingers touched Su Weifeng's clothes, they kept trembling slightly, and she seemed extremely nervous. Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, "I'll take off my clothes myself this time. I also have to adapt to this high-end life. There must be a process of adaptation. I really can't bear this." Liu Jia hesitated for a moment, bit her lip, and said, "Sir, I'm too useless. I will take off my clothes for you next time." After Liu Jia finished speaking, she ran out. Just like that. Su Weifeng thought Liu Jia would insist on taking off his clothes. Who knew that this girl would run away as soon as she said she would? However, this also made Su Weifeng really look forward to the next time Liu Jia served him. This seemed to be a desertion, but it gave Su Weifeng a great expectation, which was even more exciting. This also made him feel relieved. He took off his clothes directly and sat in the bathtub. In this way, even if Liu Jia came in again, it seemed no longer so embarrassing. After a while, Liu Jia came in again, brought a small chair, sat on the edge of the bathtub, and said softly, "Sir, let me wipe your back." Su Weifeng sat up with his back to Liu Jia. Liu Jia's small hands gently rubbed Su Weifeng's back. "Well, it feels good." Su Weifeng couldn't help but praise it. This was not just ordinary rubbing, but also massage techniques. And this technique is quite good. It can accurately find the acupuncture points of people. This is not impossible without long-term practice. Liu Jia immediately said happily, "Thank you for the compliment, sir." I was afraid that I didn't do well and made you dissatisfied. Satisfied. Very satisfied. Su Weifeng closed his eyes and said, your ability to identify acupuncture points is really good. This is not something that ordinary massage people can understand. Liu Jia immediately said, our technique of identifying acupuncture points is taught by a special teacher. This is very difficult. I have studied for more than 2 years before I can identify it correctly. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes. The Song family really has a capable person, because the acupuncture points that Liu Jia identified are no longer what ordinary Chinese medicine massage needs to know. This has already involved some things at the level of Kung Fu. If Liu Jia's fingers had no true energy at all, he would have thought that this girl was a master. Chapter 682, Lord Teoteo arrives. The Song family is investigating his background, so he also wants to truly understand the Song family from all aspects. Just like Liu King and Liu Jia, these two people can still reflect some things of the Song family from the side. Song Chengfang couldn't be unaware of this, but he still sent these two little girls to him, which can be regarded as a manifestation of trust. Enjoying Liu Jia's massage, Su Weifeng really felt very enjoyable, and this enjoyment also made him slowly relax. Liu Jia pulled Su Weifeng's arm up and rubbed Su Weifeng's arm again. Su Weifeng's hand was stretched out like this, just close to Liu Jia's face. Oh. At this time, it's too unmanly to do nothing. So comrade Su Weifeng, that sinful hand was also very honestly placed on Liu Jia's face. Liu Jia's body stiffened, glanced at Su Weifeng, but immediately avoided Su Weifeng's gaze, and continued to massage Su Weifeng. Close your eyes, enjoy the massage, and touch the face of a little beauty. This is definitely an extremely decadent life. But at this moment, voices came from outside. Where are the people? Su Weifeng, you bastard, where are you? This was Tao Tao's voice. Su Weifeng was so scared that he quickly pulled his hand back and then slipped into the water with only his head exposed. At this moment, the bathroom door was pushed open. Tao Tao and Liu King rushed in together. Sir, this said it was your woman. I can't stop her. Liu King explained in panic. Liu Jia also stood up at once, looking down at a loss. Tao Tao pointed at Su Weifeng, looking furious, and said, okay, Su Weifeng, you bastard, I'm not here, but you're having fun here, you scum. Su Weifeng's face darkened, pretending to be ignorant, and stammered, why are you here? Why can't I come? If I didn't come, I wouldn't know what you're doing here. You said you were doing something big here. Is this the big thing you said? Glancing at Liu Jia again, Tao Tao sneered and said, haha. You're taking a bath together. You really know how to enjoy it. Su Weifeng waved his hand quickly and said, you guys go out again. Liu King and Liu Jia hurriedly ran out in a panic. You bastard, give me an explanation today. If you don't explain clearly, I'm not done with you today. Tao Tao was like an angry little lion at this time, and came over, and raised his head to hit Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng hid his head in his hands and explained, no, you misunderstood. She didn't even take off her clothes. She just gave me a massage. Massage? I'm massaging you in the bathtub, and you're naked like a featherless chicken. You tell me this is a massage? Then should I find a man to massage me too? Su Weifeng grabbed Teoteo's hand and said, okay, they're going downstairs. What do you mean by okay? What's okay? I've been so good to you. I've given up my family and followed you for nothing, but you did such a thing behind my back. You think it's okay? No way. Su Weifeng's face turned black, and he said, hey, stop acting. They've left and can't hear you. Oh, left? I haven't acted enough. Teoteo chuckled. Su Weifeng said speechlessly, my aunt just acted out, and you even got physical with it. Teoteo said with a grin, I'm playing the role of a queen who catches her husband cheating on her. I've been rehearsing for a long time, and only then have I cultivated this kind of emotion. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, what queen? People have known for a long time that I have a wife. You can only be her lover here. Damn, you can't be the queen? Teoteo glared, touched her chin, and said, then I have to study how to play the role of the lover, otherwise it won't look like one. Su Weifeng blinked and said, it's very simple, now just help me take a bath. Really? Teo also blinked, looked around, then half bent over, stretched his hand into the bathtub, and said, then should we take a bath together? Ahem, that's fine. Su Weifeng chuckled. Su Weifeng came over and hugged Tao Tao's waist directly, saying with a smile, don't be angry, tell me, why are you angry with two servants? Tao Tao shook Su Weifeng's arm and said with a stern face, servant? Humph, I came too early. If I came late, I would have slept with you, but it would not be as simple as a servant. Su Weifeng said with a smile, that's not it. Ha, you still want to do it, don't you, you bastard? Tao Tao roared angrily, lowered her head, and bit Su Weifeng's shoulder, killing with a borrowed knife. Taking advantage of the fire. Tao Tao, this girl, must have done it on purpose. This damn girl, this is to catch the opportunity, and start to catch him. Su Weifeng shouted quickly, it hurts, I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Tao Tao finally let go, and there were already 2 rows of deep teeth marks on Su Weifeng's shoulder, and even blood was coming out. Liu King and Liu Jia were secretly shocked. This baby-faced girl was really fierce. Teo, we haven't seen each other for a long time. I miss you so much. Su Weifeng pretended to bear the pain, and then acted in a flattering manner. HMPH, it's none of your business whether I'm fine or not. Teo turned away from Su Weifeng, then sneered again and said, you still miss me? I think you're so happy that you don't want to leave me anymore. You don't even know who I'm anymore. How could that be? I really miss you. Su Weifeng chuckled, suddenly picked up Teo and walked upstairs directly, saying, then I'll let you see if I miss you or not. Asshole, let me go. Don't think you'll let me go like this. Haha. I'm determined not to let you go. I'll serve you well tonight and let you know if I miss you in my heart or not. Seeing the 2 people go upstairs, Liu King and Liu Jia both breathed a sigh of relief, and their faces showed a hint of relief. Chapter 683 Tao Tao's style. Su Weifeng carried Teo back to the bedroom. He threw Teo on the bed. Teo bounced twice on the bed, then supported his head with one hand, and said with a smile, how was my performance? Su Weifeng sat on the bed, and said with a smile, great, but my shoulder hurts a little. You were too harsh. This is called getting into the role. Teo had a sly smile on his face. After making a few jokes, Su Weifeng said, where have you been all day? You didn't answer the phone calls or messages? Teo said with a smile, I was near you. You are really annoying. You left 2 little beauties alone for a long time. I was so anxious. Puff. You peeked at me again. Su Weifeng gritted his teeth. Teo immediately covered his mouth, his big eyes rolling around. Su Weifeng snorted and said, girl, how can you have such a bad habit? Tao chuckled and said, it's fun. I'm just peeking at you now. I'm too lazy to look at you, even if others ask me to. Su Weifeng really couldn't do anything with this girl. Even if she told him not to peek, even if she verbally agreed, Su Weifeng didn't know whether she would peek or not. This girl's skills were really too good. However, Su Weifeng had made up his mind now. If he had any intimate actions with other people in the future, he must turn off his mobile phone. No, even turning it off was not safe. He might as well put away all the mobile phones. There was no opportunity to provide video recording, so why would she peek? I'm going to take a shower. Teo jumped off the bed, then went directly to open the cabinet and said, hey, there are no clothes for me. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes at Teo and said, if you had come earlier, I would have bought them for you. Teo raised his chin and said, huh, then why didn't you buy them for me in advance? Su Weifeng blinked and said, I mainly don't know your size, otherwise I will measure it carefully and buy it for you tomorrow. Get lost. Teo jumped to the door, then said with a smile, I'm going to find your 2 maids. Pushing the door and walking out, Teo turned around again, blinked, and said, I'll let them serve me. Ha ha, they can't serve you in the future, they will only serve me and make you angry to death. Su Weifeng laughed out loud. This Teo is simply a little girl. Sure enough, Liu King and Liu Jia followed Teo upstairs, and the 3 of them went to the bathroom together. The bedroom door was not closed, and Su Weifeng could hear Tao shouting and yelling, clearly acting out the role of a vicious wife. It was 1:30 in the morning before the 3 of them came out. Liu Jia and Liu King were both soaked, and it was unclear whether it was sweat or water on their faces. Cao Cao's face was flushed, and he looked very proud. I don't need you to serve me tonight, and you are not allowed to come upstairs without my order in the future. Yes. Liu Jia and Liu King agreed, and went downstairs obediently. Comfortable. Cao Cao entered the bedroom, feeling very proud. It's a pity that I can enjoy it alone from now on, but you can also have a look. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, you are just jealous of me. No, I'm not jealous of you at all. I'm blocking the knife for you. In order to prevent you from going astray, I'm simply sacrificing myself to serve the tiger. I'm simply in the great realm of if I don't go to hell, who will? Su Weifeng chuckled and said, yes, you are so noble, but now there is a problem that you must face. What problem? Cao Cao asked doubtfully. Su Weifeng pointed to the bed and said, do you have to sleep with me tonight? Huh? Cao Cao was stunned. Then he immediately shook his head vigorously and said, no, I'm not ready yet. How can I sleep with you now? This is absolutely not possible. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, you are here with your status now. If you don't sleep with me, what will they think? This? Teo's mouth twitched and said, Sister Keqing didn't say anything. She just asked me to help you. Why do you want to sleep with me? Su Weifeng couldn't help but be a little surprised. Teo didn't have such a strong resistance. You agree? Su Weifeng asked in confusion. Teo shrugged and said, how can I not agree? It's just sleeping with you. Sooner or later, I have to sleep with you. What's more, I will be the first to sleep with you. Then I can show off to Song Zinan and Keqing. They will have to line up behind me. At that time, I will be older and they will be younger. I can bully them. Puff. Su Weifeng burst into laughter. What kind of logic is in this girl's head? Teo was wearing someone's pajamas at this time. Liu King and Liu Jia both had good figures, but obviously they were not as strong as Teo in terms of sin capital. The pajamas were stretched very tightly. Teo got on the bed directly, lay down on it, and said, come on. I'll show you how strong the skills I've learned from watching movies for so many years are. Su Weifeng laughed again, and said, I think you're just talking about it on paper. You can't do it when it comes to the real thing. No? How dare you say I can't do it? This girl is good at all 108 sex positions in bed. How can I not do it? Su Weifeng laughed even harder, and said, you can do everything, but how can you just pose like this? There should be at least some interaction, right? Come on, if you are really good, then come and adjust the atmosphere. Teo was speechless, then pouted and said, I'm in a bad mood today. What if I don't want to serve you? Su Weifeng laughed and said, okay, then I won't serve you. Let's go to bed. After Su Weifeng finished speaking, he got on the bed directly. Cao was frightened and immediately turned over and hid beside the bed, stammering, are you serious? Su Weifeng stopped teasing her and smiled. It's just sleeping. Don't worry, I won't touch you. Really? Cao looked at Su Weifeng with extreme suspicion. Su Weifeng glared at her unhappily and said, you stare at me every day. Do you see what I'm doing with someone? That's true. Cao blinked and immediately relaxed. Su Weifeng turned off the lights and talked to Cao about business. Since he had to do this task here, Su Weifeng had to be serious. This was also his style of executing tasks, and he had to do it perfectly. To be honest, he was really worried about Cao. This girl always did things unexpectedly. Who knows if it would be bad? But what surprised Su Weifeng was that when talking about business, Cao actually showed a rare seriousness and thought about the problem very comprehensively. Su Weifeng suddenly understood why Cao could become good friends with Meng Keqing. It was not just because she was a super hacker. The most important thing was that she had a smart enough brain, but she just didn't want to use it normally. Chapter 684. Unreasonable Cao. However, Teo's concentration on this kind of thing is really poor. After chatting for a while, she was already yawning. No, I'm sleepy. I have to sleep. Su Weifeng smiled and said, okay, then sleep. After closing his eyes, Teo's breathing became stable, and she fell asleep in less than 5 minutes. This made Su Weifeng smile. This girl is really carefree. She can sleep with a man in the same bed. She is not worried about being violated at all. I don't know if it's because of her own reasons, or if she has no guard against Su Weifeng at all. Accustomed to sleeping with beautiful women around him, Su Weifeng can control his desire to be imaginative and soon fall asleep. But Teo turned over, half of her body pressed on him, one arm and one leg directly wrapped around him, and hugged him tightly. Her face was pressed against his neck, and she was smacking her lips. Su Weifeng soon determined that Teo was still asleep. At this time, she might have turned him into a rag doll. This was a bit too much, but Su Weifeng couldn't do anything to her, and forced himself to continue sleeping. When he woke up the next morning, Su Weifeng's arms were a little numb, and he didn't know when his arms became Teo's pillow. The two of them also became a state of facing each other and hugging each other to sleep. He gently wanted to pull his arms out, but Teo opened his eyes immediately. "What are you doing? I want to sleep." Teo muttered, hugged Su Weifeng tighter, and closed her eyes again. But less than half a minute later, Teo suddenly opened her eyes and looked straight at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng also looked at her with a faint smile on his face. "Morning." "Ah." Teo suddenly screamed, pushed with both hands, and kicked with both feet. "Gudang." Su Weifeng was caught off guard and kicked Teo directly to the ground. Sitting up from the ground, Su Weifeng stared at Teo in amazement and said with a helpless smile, "What's going on? You bastard, you molested me while I was asleep." Teo also sat up, pointing his finger at Su Weifeng, his round face now even rounder, his eyes spitting fire, as if he wanted to eat Su Weifeng alive. "What did I molest you about? You hugged me while you fell asleep, okay?" Su Weifeng said unhappily, and went back to bed. "I hugged you? I hugged you while I fell asleep? Are you kidding? You must have hugged me while I fell asleep." "Absolutely." Teo's words were so firm that no one could question them. Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Okay, I'll hold you, okay? But it's only 5 o'clock now. Are you sure you're up?" "Only 5 o'clock." Teo yawned subconsciously, then lay down and said, "Don't hold me again, or I'll bite you." No. Su Weifeng shook his head and lay down as well. The room fell into silence, but Teo was tossing and turning there, tossing and turning endlessly. "Is there nothing to hold you for, and you can't fall asleep?" Su Weifeng chuckled. "I usually hold a doll or something when I sleep. Why don't you have anything here?" Teo glared at Su Weifeng angrily. Su Weifeng teased, "A ready-made human-shaped doll, do you want to hold it again?" Teo blinked and muttered, "It seems there is no other choice." Then he actually came over and hugged Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. This really is just a hug. Well, Su Weifeng was not polite and hugged Teo in his arms. "Don't hug me, I'll hug you." Teo pushed Su Weifeng to lie down flat and then hugged Su Weifeng like a koala. Su Weifeng couldn't help laughing. He couldn't communicate with humans whose brain circuits were different. Teo actually took a nap. Su Weifeng had to go to Song Chengfang's company to work today, so he got up a little after 7. Although Teo was reluctant, she got up too. Except for a little embarrassment. When she woke up, she was like nothing happened. The two went downstairs, and breakfast was ready. Teo once again showed the posture of a hostess, and Liu King and Liu Jia surrounded her. Without the two maids to serve him, Su Weifeng felt relaxed. It was good to be served, and it was very fragrant, but he couldn't get over it in his heart. After packing up, Su Weifeng didn't drive the car and left the car to Teo because she was going out to play today. This was decided by the two of them, and Teo would act as a little lover who only knew how to spend money and enjoy himself. A little after 8:30, I arrived at Song Chengfang's office. Song Chengfang was already in the company. This was enough to show that Song Chengfang was also a careerist. "Are you satisfied with the place you live?" After saying a few words, Song Chengfang asked with a smile. Su Weifeng immediately showed an embarrassed look and said, "Thank you for the 2 girls, but, alas." "What's wrong?" Song Chengfang looked puzzled. "Don't mention it. Last night, my lover suddenly came over and had a big fight with me. It took a lot of effort to calm her down." Song Chengfang burst into laughter and said, "Then you are given these 2 wonderful people. Aren't you unworthy of them?" Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and shook his head, saying, "For now, I'm just watching and can't do anything. It's so painful. Ha, she's a lover, not a wife. Just coax her first. Then give her money and let her spend it as she pleases. She will soon lose her temper. I hope so." Those two little girls have been raised by our Song family since they were young. Even if they are dignitaries, our Song family will not give them away easily. Don't waste such a gift. Yes, I can see that. I like them very much. I will find a chance to send my lover away later. Su Weifeng did not take the opportunity to ask Liu King and Liu Jia to go back. This was totally not the behavior of a man. Song Chengfang also laughed and said, "Don't worry, this is already sent out. This person is yours. You can take care of her slowly, and besides, a wife is not as good as a concubine is not as good as a secret lover, and a secret lover is not as good as not being able to steal. You can do it secretly with them. Isn't it more interesting?" Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes, and then nodded in agreement. The two men immediately laughed dirty and knowingly. Song Chengfang did not arrange any specific work for Su Weifeng. This day, he basically let Su Weifeng watch him work, and he just gave Su Weifeng a casual order if he had anything to do. Su Weifeng knew that Song Chengfang was also testing him, and he also handled everything very seriously. Judging from Song Chengfang's attitude, Song Chengfang was also quite satisfied. At around 4 o'clock, Song Chengfang said, "Let's go back to the Song family tonight." Su Weifeng answered straightforwardly, "Okay." Song Chengfang was very satisfied with Su Weifeng's answer. He saw a kind of confidence and composure in a Su Weifeng. This was not blind confidence, but the confidence of a truly capable person. Chapter 685, Establishing Authority begins. The Song family villa. The eldest, Song Chengshan, looks like a gentle elder. The third, Song Chengren, looks sinister, and at first glance, he seems to be quite scheming. The fourth, Song Chengyu, is fashionable and has dyed hair. Although he is almost 50 years old, he still looks like a playboy. In addition, there are many second-generation children of the Song family, as well as important figures of the Song family, totaling no less than 50 people. The Song family is really a big family with a large population. As soon as Song Chengfang and Su Weifeng came in, Song Chengren's eyes were already fixed on Su Weifeng, like a falcon staring at its prey. "Haha, everyone is here. I'm late. Please forgive me." Song Chengfang greeted everyone, then pointed at Su Weifeng and said, "This is Su Weifeng, the master I just recruited recently. He will be my direct descendant in the future." Song Chengren snorted and said, "Second brother, this kid has an unknown origin. You are bringing him directly to the core of the Song family. Aren't you a bit reckless?" Song Chengfang said nonchalantly, "I have always trusted people without doubt, and never doubted them. I'm optimistic about Su Weifeng. He will definitely be a great help to my Song family." Song Chengren said disdainfully, "Really? Just because he can fight? If we want someone who can fight, will our Song family still have trouble?" Song Chengfang narrowed his eyes and said, "He can fight, but there are not many masters like Su Weifeng. Third brother, do you want to test his strength?" Song Chengren snorted and said, "Not bad." Song Chengfang laughed and said, "Weifeng, since the third master is interested in this, just show them what you can do." Su Weifeng stepped out, his face calm, and said lightly, "Come on." Song Chengren narrowed his eyes, turned his head and gestured, and a big man stepped out from the crowd. Those who can be here are all core members, and the family generals who joined the core with their fighting power are the top existences of the Song family. Like the last time he went out with Song Qijiang, he was not the most powerful master of the Song family. The real masters, like the third generation descendants of Song Qijiang, have no right to command them at all, and they already have enough power in the Song family. Even people like Song Chengfang and others who are the power center of the Song family should be treated with courtesy. There are 6 family generals here, and these 6 are the real powerful core of the Song family. And in the family general system, they also have competition. The stronger the strength, the more valued they are in the Song family, and the higher the treatment they enjoy. The appearance of Su Weifeng not only helped Song Chengfang, but also affected the status of other family generals. the man who came out ranked 4th in strength among the 6 family generals. He was a descendant of the 3rd master Song Chenggren. He came out at this time, one to help Song Chenggren, and the other to consolidate his position in the Song family. The big man stood in front of Su Weifeng, glared at him, and shouted, "Boy, remember, my name is Fang Ping. In the Song family, not just any cat or dog can get in. Don't think that you can get into the Song family after practicing a few years of mediocre kung fu." Su Weifeng just smiled faintly and said nothing. This kind of silence is the most annoying. Fang Ping's face sank and said, "Boy, you are quite good at pretending. Then let me test your weight. Please." Su Weifeng waved his hand, quite like a master. The living room of the Song family villa is very large, and there is a lot of empty space in the middle, which is almost enough for 2 people to fight. Please. Fang Ping did not lose face. He clasped his fists, then took a stance, stepped forward, and punched Su Weifeng. As soon as Fang Ping made a move, Su Weifeng could feel that this guy really had some real skills. However, his real skills were only compared to those of ordinary people. The Song family was quite powerful here, but compared to the ZHU family, it was still a little bit worse. The strength of their family generals was also a little worse than that of the ZHU family. For example, this guy's strength was even worse than that of Jin Yuhu. Su Weifeng could kill such a person instantly. But of course he couldn't do it so easily, because that would expose his own strength. He needed to establish his prestige and stand firm in the Song family. He had to grasp a degree, stronger than them, but not so strong that they would not even have the idea of resisting. With a light shout, Su Weifeng swung his fist to meet them. The 2 men's fists staggered each other, but their arms collided. Su Weifeng stood firmly on the spot, but Fang Ping took a step back, his face slightly flushed. Hey, he's actually really strong. The 4th brother Song Chenggailu may look like a playboy, but he likes kung fu very much. He once practiced hard for a period of time. His strength is not very strong, but his eyesight is not bad. He saw at a glance that Fang Ping suffered a little loss under this move. Fang Ping was furious. Knowing that he was not as strong as Su Weifeng, he immediately changed his strategy and rushed forward again, using all kinds of moves immediately, hoping to win through his experience and skills in battle. But for someone like him, his combat experience is basically sparring with the masters in the family, so there is no chance of fighting for his life. For someone like Su Weifeng who has been in the battlefield for a long time, this experience is simply not worth mentioning. However, the 2 of them looked much better when they started fighting, and it seemed that it was difficult to tell who would win for a while. The 3rd brother Song Chenggren did not speak, while the eldest brother Song Chengshan asked the 4th brother curiously, "4th brother, who do you think will win between these 2? This new Su. What's his name? He can win." Song Chenggren immediately glared at Song Chenggailu. Song Chenggailu chuckled and said, "3rd brother, it's useless to glare at me. This guy's really powerful. He was not at a disadvantage in strength just now. Now he is not inferior to Fang Ping in experience and skills, and may even be better. It is reasonable for him to win." As soon as Song Chenggailu finished speaking, Fang Ping suddenly fell back a few steps and almost sat on the ground. He staggered a few steps before he stood firm. It was obvious that he had already lost. Su Weifeng stood firmly in the same place. His face was not red, and he was not out of breath. It was obvious that he was still very relaxed. Song Chengfang laughed and said, "Is there anyone who is not convinced? I'll add a little prize here. Whoever can beat him will be rewarded with 1 million. The other family generals all changed their faces. 1 million was not a small amount for them. They were not like Su Weifeng, who got a lot of benefits from Song Chengfang right at the beginning. In fact, Song Chengfang was willing to pay such a big benefit because he needed to strengthen his strength and time was tight. He would not do so in normal times. Today, he also wanted to let Su Weifeng establish his authority and quickly bring Su Weifeng to the core of the Song family, so that he would have another helper among the core figures of the Song family. "I'll do it." A thin man came out directly. Everyone's eyes lit up immediately. This was the top master of the Song family. Usually, when everyone wanted him to take action, he was too lazy to do it. Chapter 686 Victory. Chendang is actually going to take action too. This kid can actually make Chendang take action. It seems he is not simple. Yes, Chendong took the initiative this time. If it weren't for the opponent's strong strength, he would not be interested at all. Many of the 3 generations of Chen family disciples began to whisper. Song Qijiang led and said, "Bullshit, Chendong just wants to deal with him." Qijiang, what you said is not right. When will Chendong take action? Because he wants to deal with someone. He will only take action if he thinks it is worth taking action. The 2nd generation was arguing, and the 3rd generation was also arguing. Song Chengfang's son Song Keban mocked with disdain at this time. Song Qijiang led and said, even if he can get Chendong to do it, how can he be Chendong's opponent? Humph, this guy you found will also be beaten to pieces by Chendong. Song Keban chuckled and said, that's not necessarily true. I heard that the 2 men you brought were killed in seconds. You always say how strong your men are. Does this mean they are scum? Song Qijiang's face flushed immediately. His father was sinister and scheming, but he did not inherit his father's character at all. Instead, he was very impulsive, but his thinking reaction was not worth mentioning. Song Chenggren said with a gloomy face, Chendong, since you have taken action, you can't show mercy. No. Chendong said 2 words lightly, then looked at Su Weifeng. His eyes showed a gleam, and the whole person was like a dagger out of its sheath, showing its sharpness. Chendong clasped his fists and said, please. Su Weifeng also had a serious look on his face, and he also looked cautious, as if he had met an opponent. After the 2 of them finished speaking, they both paused for a moment, and then attacked together, and started fighting immediately. This Chendong looked thin, but his strength was not weak at all, especially his physical agility, which was beyond the reach of ordinary people. His moves were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he had already attacked Su Weifeng several times. Su Weifeng fought fast, and countered each other's moves. For a while, the 2 of them attacked and defended each other, and the fight was so lively. The children of the Song family were also very interested at this time. Usually, even if they watched the family generals sparring, it seemed that there was nothing to watch, as if they were just fighting blindly. But now, it was a bit like the fighting scenes in the movies, which really made people dazzled. Song Chengshan said to Song Chenggayu again, 4th brother, what do you think of this match? Song Chenggayu touched his chin, his eyes shining, and said, it's hard to say, these 2 people fought too fast. This level has completely exceeded my cognition. You mean, he is not weaker than Chendong? Of course, if he was weaker, he would have lost long ago. Song Chengshan laughed and said, that's good. Even if he loses to Chendong, our Song family has one more master, which is worth celebrating. Song Chenggayu also nodded repeatedly and said, not bad, it is true. Song Chenggren's face was gloomy at this time. Although the winner has not been decided yet, Su Weifeng has been recognized by others. This is the person Song Chengfang found, and he will definitely be used by Song Chengfang in the future. Song Chengfang's strength has been greatly improved. You know, in the Song family, only 2 of the 6 top family generals are used by him, but they are only the 3rd and 4th ranked too. Song Chengfang originally only had 1 supporter ranked 5th, and his strength was far inferior to him. Now there are more people who can compete with Chendong, so he can no longer compete with Song Chengfang in this aspect. Song Chengfang was overjoyed. Although he knew that Su Weifeng was very strong, he did not expect him to be so strong. In his mind, it would be enough if Su Weifeng could break into the top family generals. Unexpectedly, he actually broke through to the top. As family generals, Chendong, who ranked 1st, had a completely different status from the other 5. It can even be said that the remaining 5 people added together were not as important as Chendong alone. Su Weifeng, if you win today, I will directly reward you with 5 million. Song Chengfang shouted again. He wanted to add fuel to the fire and improve Su Weifeng's status. Okay. Su Weifeng agreed and suddenly shouted loudly. His momentum was once again raised and he punched out fiercely. This punch was not tricky at all and it hit Chendong's chest directly. To outsiders, this punch was nothing special. But Chendong, who was on the opposite side, was horrified at this moment. This punch seemed to cover his whole body. No matter how he changed his moves, he might be attacked by his opponent more strongly. Chendong was also a master. He remained calm at this moment. He also shouted loudly, and his hands became claws. He struck from top to bottom and grabbed Su Weifeng's arm directly. His eagle claw skill was one of his signature skills. He rarely used it. Once he used it, it would often break the opponent's bones and tendons. At this moment, he had no choice but to use his best skills. But Su Weifeng's arm seemed to have eyes at this moment. It suddenly became as clever as a snake. It slipped out of his hand the moment Chen Dong's claws grabbed his arm and still hit Chen Dong's chest. Chen Dong was horrified. It was too late to change his moves at this moment. He had to retreat violently, and at the same time, he gathered his strength in his chest, ready to take Su Weifeng's punch. Bang! After a slight sound, Su Weifeng stopped. Chen Dong also stopped, and the two looked at each other. Everyone didn't understand at all, and they were all looking at the two in confusion. I lost, Chen Dong said softly, but his face was not too depressed, but radiant, and said, I hope you can teach me more in the future. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, thank you, I also won by trickery, please teach me more in the future. Haha. Song Chengfang laughed and said, well, Weifeng, you performed very well. Our Song family has gained another fierce general. Song Chengshan and Song Chengai both smiled and congratulated. Song Chenggren's face was even more gloomy at this time. He was competing with Song Chengfang for the situation of the Song family. But Song Chengshan and Song Chengai could also play a decisive role. Whoever they supported in the end would be able to truly take charge of the Song family. Originally, he and Song Chengfang were evenly matched. Song Chengshan and Song Chengai had been watching and did not express their support for anyone more. But now there is Su Weifeng, which breaks the balance. Even Song Chengshan and Song Chengai have shown some optimism about Song Chengfang. This is absolutely not acceptable. Song Chenggren certainly cannot let Su Weifeng enter the core of the Song family. Chapter 687 Song Family Rebellion. With a cold snort, Song Chenggren said coldly, his strength is indeed good, and he is indeed qualified to become a top family general, but his origin is unknown. Whether he can be truly loyal to our Song family remains to be tested. Song Chengfang's face sank and said, third brother, what you said is not right. My father is seriously ill. As long as the old man is gone, our family will surely become the target of other families. We must spare no effort to improve our strength in areas where we can. Besides, trust people when you employ them, and don't employ them if you don't trust them. I believe Su Weifeng will be loyal to the Song family. Song Chenggren snorted coldly and said, he is loyal to you, second brother, right? Song Chengfang proudly puffed out his chest and said, no matter who he is loyal to, he is loyal to the Song family. Among us brothers, no matter who is stronger, isn't it the Song family that is strong? Song Chengshan said at this time, third brother, I feel that what the second brother said is right. Su Weifeng is a talent. Your attitude will chill the hearts of other people who want to join our Song family. Now the pressure outside is so great, and they are all waiting for my father to leave. If we don't accumulate enough strength while our father is still here, I'm afraid that our Song family will really cease to exist. Song Chengai also said, if he does anything that is not good for our Song family in the future, we will not be polite to expel him from our Song family. Song Chenggren clasped his fingertips in his palm, took a deep breath, and said, since everyone thinks so, then this matter is settled, and I have no objection. The Song brothers all expressed their opinions, and Su Weifeng was truly a core member of the Song family, and with his strength, he surpassed Chen Dong, and became the top family general of the Su family. This status is even slightly higher than that of the third generation disciples. And then, everyone began to discuss the major events of the Song family. The main reason is that the old man is seriously ill and may die at any time, which puts too much pressure on everyone. Su Weifeng has been in contact with these big families during this period of time and has learned a lot. The competition between these big families is really too big. When they are free, they are like good friends and even arrange marriages. But once someone suffers, all the other families will stare at you like hungry wolves, wishing they could take a few bites from you. The competition between them is much more brutal than that of the business giants. Whether the helmsman of a family is still alive or not is also very important. A helmsman has been in charge of the family for many years and has accumulated a lot of prestige in all aspects. Even if he is only alive, this prestige is still there, and other families will not easily take action. But if your helmsman is gone, the other families will not show mercy and will definitely rush in. And the Song family, which has not established a successor, is even more popular with other families. Even Su Weifeng suspected that among these people in the Song family, the Song family children were okay, and I don't know how many of the others have been bought by other families. After all, in this situation, everyone has to consider their own way out. They are used to living in a big family, so if there is a more powerful family, they will definitely be happy to go to it. Listening to the issues they discussed, Su Weifeng knew that the decline of the Song family was inevitable. No matter what they discussed, the second and third masters would definitely sing the opposite tune. You destroy my stage, I lose your face. In this situation, if everyone worked together, it would be possible to deal with the next crisis. If they did this, they would just give others an opportunity. It was past 9 o'clock before the meeting was over. In the end, almost nothing was discussed, and everyone was extremely exhausted. Song Chengfang did not live here. He and Su Weifeng left in a car together. Rubbing his forehead, Song Chengfang said tiredly, Weifeng, have you seen what our Song family is like? The third brother is only concerned with undermining me. If we follow my way, the Song family will definitely be able to maintain its original status. He will only make our Song family decline. Su Weifeng felt funny in his heart. Isn't Song Chengfang the same? Now he is still talking about the third brother, but he still said seriously, Second master, this is really messy. The Song family cannot be without a leader for a day. Only by deciding the head of the family as soon as possible can the Song family be truly powerful. Yes, you hit the nail on the head, so I'm eager to seize the position of the head of the family. Do you have any suggestions? This? Not yet, I need to get more familiar with the situation. Well, very good, your calmness, I also admire it. This is the person who can do great things. The driver first sent Song Chengfang back to the villa, and then sent Song Weifeng back to the villa. Now Su Weifeng is already a core member of the Song family, and is qualified to enjoy such treatment. The door opened, and Liu Jia immediately changed Su Weifeng's shoes. But this time Liu Jia's movements were very quick, and she didn't have the flirtatious attitude as before. Tao Tao was lying on the sofa, Liu King was massaging her legs, and Liu Jia also went over and sat beside Tao Tao's head, massaging her head. Su Weifeng couldn't help but smile and said, you really know how to enjoy yourself. Tao Tao took a piece of mango handed over by Liu Jia, chewed it twice, and then said proudly, not bad, not bad. Your two little girls are really good at serving people. I've decided they will belong to me from now on. Belong to you? Su Weifeng sat on the sofa on the side. Yes, from now on they will serve me exclusively, and I will take them with me wherever I go. Su Weifeng smiled and said, you have to ask them. Tao immediately said, I have asked, and they all said that they are given to you, so they are yours. No matter what you do, they are yours. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes at Tao and said, they are living people, not objects. Tao immediately said to the two of them, this guy doesn't believe it, you tell him. Liu Jia immediately said, sir, what the madam said is true. As long as you need our service, we will always be yours. Tao immediately shook his white little feet proudly and said, did you hear that? Su Weifeng shook his head and said, even so, I can't give them to you. What's the matter? You are reluctant to part with them? You bastard. Are you still thinking about getting them? I tell you, there's no way. Tao immediately jumped up like a little leopard, pinched his waist with both hands, pointed at Su Weifeng and cursed. Su Weifeng's face darkened. This girl really loves to act. It's not a question of whether to do it or not. They are human beings. Even if they are given to me, we can't send them back and forth like this. It's so embarrassing. Tao Tao was still aggressive and said, you just want to have sex with them. You are afraid that I will take them away, and then you will have no chance, right? Su Weifeng glared and said, I said no, and it means no. If I'll let you take them away, what if my wife finds out? Where can I find two people? You. Tao Tao's momentum immediately deflated, and then she grabbed Su Weifeng's arm and shook it gently, saying, don't tell your wife. If she knows you have two little girls, she will definitely be angry with you. Or I will let you take advantage of them a little, and you just let them serve me. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 688 Puppet Selection. The two little girls, Liu King and Liu Jia, immediately raised their heads to look at Su Weifeng and happened to meet Su Weifeng's eyes. They lowered their heads quickly, but their shy and coquettish appearance was really indescribably attractive. Is it okay? Tao Tao grabbed Su Weifeng's arm and shook it hard, but her fingers secretly pinched Su Weifeng's arm, which was called a pinch. Okay. Su Weifeng quickly agreed. I knew you were the best, Tao Tao said, and she stood on tiptoe and kissed Su Weifeng on the face. Then she waved her hand and said, now you come to serve him, and serve him well. Su Weifeng sat down, Liu King pressed his head and shoulders, and Liu Jia pounded his legs. It seemed that he was enjoying it very much, but Tao Tao was watching covetously from the side. The two little girls didn't dare to tease Su Weifeng, so Su Weifeng naturally had to behave like a gentleman. While staring at the three people, Tao Tao was still taking credit. Look how good I'm to you, and I'll let other girls serve you. Where can you find such a good woman now? Su Weifeng said with a smile. Yes, you are really the best woman in the world. I'm the most blessed man in the world to have you. Yes, you should have such awareness. Okay, it's almost time. We are going to rest. You should do what you should do. Before pressing a few buttons, Tao Tao drove Liu King and Liu Jia away and went upstairs with Su Weifeng. After the two entered the room, Tao Tao turned on the computer and showed Su Weifeng some things. These were some of the situations of the Song family, and they were all confidential things. These things were top secret to others, but in front of Tao Tao, everything was available for viewing. Su Weifeng was not interested in the assets of the Song family. He was interested in the foreign trade channel. And this channel was controlled by the third brother Song Chengren. Tao Tao said, I think this is too much trouble. I will hack them directly, just like what I did there last time, and force them to listen to you. Su Weifeng shook his head and said, this won't work. We want to use the Song family as a cover, so we can't touch the foundation of the Song family, so we can't destroy the Song family. In addition, what we want to do is extremely confidential. If we make a big fuss, it will attract some people's attention. I'm afraid that this channel will no longer be used in the future. Why do we come here to do this? Alas, this is completely unable to use my expertise. Oh, you smell. Go take a shower and see. Tao Tao took the computer back without hesitation, and then kicked Su Weifeng under the bed. Su Weifeng said with a smile, you girl, can you not be so violent? You asked me to help you. So what's wrong with me bullying you? Okay, you are awesome. Su Weifeng shook his head and went to take a shower. With Tao Tao around, Liu King and Liu Jia naturally couldn't come to help him take a bath, which made Su Weifeng feel a little disappointed. After taking a bath and returning to the room, the two sat on the bed, and Su Weifeng once again studied the situation of the Song family. Meng Keking's idea was that the Song family must be controlled in the hands. It would definitely not work to seize it directly. The best way, of course, was to support someone to be the head of the Song family and let this head of the family be a puppet. And this person was not easy to choose. Song Chengfang looked quite generous, but Su Weifeng knew from the information that this guy was a particularly ruthless character, and he was also ambitious. He was not the kind of person who was easy to control. The third brother, Song Chengren, Su Weifeng directly excluded him. A person with a particularly heavy mind, you will never know what he is thinking and what he wants. The fourth brother, who was a playboy all day long, was smart, but he didn't do things at all. Even if he was allowed to control the Song family, it would be difficult to convince the people. The eldest brother, Song Chengshan, looked quite gentle and could barely pass the test, but he was also too incompetent. Meng Keqing wanted the foreign trade route, but the Song family still wanted the Song family to manage it themselves. The Meng family would not come to participate, nor would they send anyone in. If they found someone who was not capable enough, the Song family would be swallowed up by other families in a short time, and the foreign investment route would be in vain. This person is really difficult to choose. Wait. What's going on? Will. The old man has actually made a will. Su Weifeng opened the file quickly. In the old man's will, there was no mention of the succession of the head of the family, and he actually distributed all the family property to his descendants. Su Weifeng thought about it for a while, and understood the old man's intention. Although the family seems to be more glorious and powerful than those business tycoons, the risks it has to bear are also greater. The old man does not want everyone to keep this family. In the end, everyone divided the family property, and everyone's strength is not enough to support a family. Then they are just some rich people, so they will not be swallowed up by other families, but the Song family will be preserved. Among the people who inherited the family property, Su Weifeng saw a special name. Qiao Yushan. Qiao Yushan turned out to be the illegitimate daughter of the old man of the Song family. This surprised Su Weifeng greatly. He never thought that this charming woman was actually the sister of Song Chengfang and his friends. This also explains why Qiao Yushan is so young and has such strength. This is clearly the secret support of the old man. Qiao Yushan. Su Weifeng tapped the keyboard of the notebook with his fingers lightly, and his eyes narrowed. Qiao Yushan? Tao Tao was playing a game. At this time, he immediately turned his head and stared at Su Weifeng and said fiercely, "This is a woman's name, right?" "Yes, a very beautiful woman, a very smart woman." Su Weifeng answered casually. "Wow, is this your new prey again?" Tao Tao immediately became interested. In fact, she was not angry about how many women Su Weifeng had. Instead, she found it fun. It's just that here, she had to cooperate with Su Weifeng, which made her look a little fierce. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes and said, "Prey? Haha, it seems that it is not bad to take her as prey." Then he turned around and said, "Tao Tao, this Qiao Yushan is the illegitimate daughter of the old man of the Song family, that is, the second generation of the Song family. If I support her to become the head of the Song family, is it okay? A woman as the head of the family? It is not uncommon, but it is quite rare, especially an illegitimate daughter. This seems to be quite challenging. This is quite interesting. I will find some information about this woman." Tao Tao did what he said, and immediately operated the computer quickly. "Wow, she has a great figure." Tao Tao shouted excitedly. Su Weifeng looked at the screen and his face suddenly turned black. There was only Qiao Yushan's upper body on the screen. But, she was only wearing a bra. Chapter 689 Qiao Yushan invites. "Hey, you want to check her information? Why are you spying on her?" Su Weifeng quickly turned his head away. "PFFT, isn't this your prey? I have to see what she looks like in person. Hey, such a good figure is right here. Why don't you look at it?" Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, "The prey I mentioned is to support her to be the head of the family, not to make her my woman. If you don't let her be your woman, how can she listen to you? If you are my woman, will you listen to me?" "Yes." Tao Tao answered seriously, but immediately added, "But I won't be your woman. At most, I will go to bed with you." Su Weifeng tapped Tao Tao on the head. Talking about this kind of topic with this girl, he definitely couldn't talk about anything serious. He said with a stern face, "Okay, hurry up. What are you doing? I want her more detailed information, so that I know where to start." Tao Tao rubbed his head and said, "Yes, sir. I will find out everything about her measurements, and what kind of underwear she likes to wear." Su Weifeng simply didn't say anything, otherwise the girl would get more and more excited. Soon Tao Tao produced a copy of Qiao Yushan's information from childhood to adulthood for Su Weifeng. This also made Su Weifeng have to admire the girl's means. Qiao Yushan's childhood information was not very useful. She lost her mother at the age of 16 and started her own business at the age of 20. In just 3 years, she had already built an investment company with assets of 10 billion. He holds 30% of the shares in it. There are people helping everywhere, and the Song family is also involved, but they are all very hidden, and they don't show the support of the old man of the Song family. It seems that other children of the Song family have reached out to help. Judging from Song Chengfang's attitude, he obviously didn't know that Qiao Yushan was the old man's illegitimate daughter. The old man of the Song family is really very skilled. He can hide this very well and help without showing his feelings. These are not important. What Su Weifeng looks at most is Chu Yuxi's social interpersonal relationships. Chu Yuxi has a lot of contact with the Song family, and the Song family also uses Chu Yuxi a lot, but it is obvious that no one in the Song family has ever touched Chu Yuxi. This made Su Weifeng quite puzzled. How could people like the Song family not want to occupy such a beautiful woman like Chu Yuxi? This should also be the old man's method, but I don't know what caused it. I can find out later. Apart from her relationship with the Song family, Chu Yuxi has no connection with other men. This charming woman doesn't seem to be as casual as she looks. What surprised Su Weifeng was that Chu Yuxi was actually a public welfare person. She secretly sponsored more than a dozen out-of-school children. She also donated a lot of money to some welfare funds. This made Su Weifeng have to get to know this woman again. He felt heavy on his body, and Teoteo's arms and legs were wrapped around him again. It turned out that he was too absorbed in watching. It was already late, and Teoteo couldn't hold on any longer, and fell asleep directly, and then hugged him as a baby. Sitting like this, and watching Teoteo's sleeping posture, it really looked very cute, and Su Weifeng actually wanted to pinch her round face. Having finished reading almost everything, Su Weifeng put the computer aside, turned off the light, hugged Teoteo and thought for a while, and fell asleep. Su Weifeng was still thinking about how to get close to Chu Yuxi, but Chu Yuxi called Su Weifeng in the afternoon. Su Weifeng did not answer the phone immediately, but looked at Song Chengfang and said, "It's Chu Yuxi's call." Song Chengfang narrowed his eyes and said, "She is very interested in you. Answer it quickly." Su Weifeng answered the phone. As soon as the phone was connected, Chu Yuxi's voice with resentment came over, saying, "It took you so long to answer. How much do you dislike me?" Su Weifeng replied, "No, I'm with the second master." "Oh, you are a big celebrity now, and you are with the second master every day. Hello, do you have time tonight? I have to ask the second master about this." Su Weifeng's receiver volume was probably turned up a bit, and Song Chengfang could also hear what Chu Yuxi said. At this time, he immediately smiled and nodded. Su Weifeng then said, "I have time. What's up? I'm lonely, why don't you come and keep me company? We almost went to bed together anyway." Su Weifeng looked at Song Chengfang awkwardly. Song Chengfang laughed and said, "When a beautiful woman invites you, how can I not go?" Su Weifeng then agreed, set the address and time, and then hung up the phone. Song Chengfang smiled very much and said, "Go ahead. If Chu Yuxi asks you out in the future, you can just agree, unless I have something important to do. Second master, I have nothing with her. Nothing now, but there may be something in the future. A man should have a few women. What's more, Chu Yuxi is beautiful and powerful. Do you know how many people want to conquer her? But she rarely responds. You are definitely one of the few who takes the initiative to contact her. Second master, I'm here to help you." Talking about love. You also know that there is another one in my house. This man has to create conditions, not to mention that he is delivered to the door. Just let go and do it. Su Weifeng could clearly hear from Song Chengfang's words that he supported the pursuit of Chu Yuxi, and it seemed that there was a deeper meaning. Could it be that Song Chengfang knew Chu Yuxi's true identity? Su Weifeng had such a thought in his mind, but it was difficult to confirm for a while. The situation in the Song family really felt more and more complicated. At the agreed time, as soon as Su Weifeng walked out of the company's gate, a red Porsche sports car honked its horn. The window rolled down, revealing Chu Yuxi's charming face, but today she was wearing a pair of sunglasses. Su Weifeng opened the door and got in, saying, "Why did you come to pick me up?" Chu Yuxi stepped on the accelerator and the car rushed out. Then he said with a smile, "Haha, I was so anxious, and I was afraid that you would stand me up, so I came to pick you up." Su Weifeng said, "I always keep my word. But I'm a woman, and women are villains, and villains have to judge others by their own standards." Su Weifeng also chuckled and said, "If you say so, there's nothing wrong with that." The car sped all the way, and soon left the city. Su Weifeng said in confusion, "Didn't you say we were going to eat Western food?" "No. I want to go to another place. The food there is also very good." Su Weifeng shrugged and said, "It's up to you." Chu Yuxi turned her head to look at Su Weifeng and said with a smile, "What's the matter? Are you afraid that I will sell you out? I'm afraid that you will do something bad to me. If we go to the wilderness and you force me, should I agree or not?" Chapter 690. Innocent smile. Puff. Chu Yuxi burst out laughing, and the car almost veered off the track. She quickly corrected the direction and said angrily, "Driving in this cold winter, you are still teasing me. Aren't you afraid that my car will flip over into the ditch?" Su Weifeng said nonchalantly, "Let it flip over. It's not bad to be a couple with the same fate." Chu Yuxi chuckled, and her voice suddenly became delicate, saying, "Oh, you are so nice today, I'm intoxicated." Su Weifeng laughed and said, "A beautiful woman has made an appointment, so shouldn't I say something that fits the mood?" Chu Yuxi snorted and said, "So what you mean is that what you said is not the truth?" Su Weifeng shrugged his shoulders and said, "Who can know whether what he said is the truth? Sometimes what he said casually is the truth, and sometimes what he prepared for a long time is also a lie. This, I can't refute it." Chu Yuxi was a little distracted, then shook his head gently and said, "I didn't expect that you could speak with such depth." Su Weifeng laughed again and said, "Ha, it's a must for picking up girls. When talking to Chu Yuxi, it's not appropriate to be sincere or hypocritical, and this kind of true and false, half true and half false, is suitable for Chu Yuxi. Chatting like this is actually pleasant, and Chu Yuxi chuckles from time to time. It gets dark early in winter. When Chu Yuxi stopped the car, it was completely dark outside. The place here seems very remote. Except for the restaurant in front of them, there are only a few lights in the distance. There is only one table of guests in the restaurant, a young couple, and a middle-aged man in his 50s. This uncle should be the boss. When he saw the two people come in, he immediately greeted them with a smile and said, "Mr. Chu, long time no see." As he spoke, he looked at Su Weifeng, and there was already a kind of surprise in his eyes. Chu Yuxi smiled sweetly and said, "I've been busy lately." The uncle smiled and said, "Is this your boyfriend?" Chu Yuxi turned her head to look at Su Weifeng, then chuckled and said, "It's possible." The uncle laughed and said, "You're not young anymore. It's time to find a boyfriend." I think the young man is good and energetic. Chu Yuxi showed a hint of shyness and said, "Uncle, there are only two of us. Just make something for me. Okay, don't worry about my cooking skills. If you bring someone here today, I will show you my skills." The two sat by the window, where there was heating, and it was not cold at all. Such a small shop should be very special, right? Su Weifeng asked casually. Chu Yuxi smiled sweetly and said, "Yes, there are all fresh river fish here, especially river fish in winter. The meat is better. I like it very much. I always come here to eat several times a year." Chu Yuxi's smile was very sweet and pure. It was a smile that came completely from the heart, without any disguise or falsehood. Su Weifeng was stunned for a moment. "What's wrong?" Chu Yuxi caught the change in Su Weifeng's expression and asked in confusion. Su Weifeng stared at Chu Yuxi and said seriously, "Just now I felt that your smile was really beautiful. No, this adjective is too pale. How should I put it? I should say it's flawless. Yes, it's flawless." Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, "Hey, you praise people like this. How many girls have been deceived by you?" Su Weifeng's expression was still quite serious, and he said, "I don't mean to make you happy. I just feel that your smile just now is not mixed with any impurities at all. It is a smile from the heart. Such a smile is not artificial at all, and it is very beautiful." Chu Yuxi's smile disappeared, and she looked at Su Weifeng seriously, saying, "You observe very carefully." Su Weifeng said, "I was also suddenly shocked, but I didn't observe it on purpose." At this time, the uncle came over and brought the two of them steaming hot tea, saying, "Come and drink some water to warm up your body first. I will cook for you right away." After the uncle left, Chu Yuxi sighed softly and said, "It's difficult for a woman to be outside, so she always has to hide her true self. In fact, I don't even know what my true self is like." After a pause, Chu Yuxi narrowed her eyes and said, "In your heart, what kind of person am I?" Su Weifeng thought about it seriously and said, "Before just now, I thought you were a very smart and cunning person. You are smooth in your dealings and can handle so many forces in the Song family with ease. So you should be a very difficult woman to grasp. What about now? Chu Yuxi showed an expectant expression on her face. Su Weifeng said, now I know that all of this is actually forced upon you. I don't know what made you hide yourself, put yourself in a thick cover, and wear a thick mask. Chu Yuxi pouted and said, who is not like this? Do you dare to say that you are the real you now? In order to make money, and for the company, you have to intrigue with others, and compete with others. Su Weifeng shook his head and said, no. These are definitely not what you really need. Huh. A trace of panic flashed across Chu Yuxi's eyes, but it was only a flash. If it weren't for Su Weifeng's super observation, he would have overlooked it. You can't be too hasty to uncover someone's mask, otherwise it will only make people wary, and you won't even have a chance to get close. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, I think it's too vulgar for such a beautiful and smart woman like you to chase money. This is simply a blasphemy against you. Chu Yuxi stared at Su Weifeng, with no expression on her face. What? Did I say something wrong? Su Weifeng asked in confusion. Chu Yuxi snorted and said, you are wrong. In this society, men are unreliable. Just like you are both a wife and a lover. So I must make more money. Only when my finances are completely independent can I leave you stinky men behind, and do whatever I want. Su Weifeng said, but your income is enough now. Chu Yuxi waved her little fist, and emphasized her tone, saying, it's not enough now. A little disturbance may make me bankrupt. I must make more money. A plate of fried river shrimps was served first. Chu Yuxi immediately said with a smile, try it. Su Weifeng picked one up, and put it in his mouth. After chewing it twice, he immediately praised, it's crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, and it still has the freshness of shrimp. The craftsmanship is good and the shrimp is good. Chu Yuxi immediately laughed happily and said, yes, the river shrimps here are the freshest. I have loved eating them since I was a child. Did you grow up here? Yes, I grew up in a village nearby. Chapter 691 Hypnosis. Su Weifeng said with a little surprise, I didn't expect that you actually grew up in the village. Puff. Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, you don't think that girls from the village are all those big girls with red cheeks, do you? Su Weifeng laughed and said, there are beautiful girls everywhere. The most important thing is your temperament. It's hard to find a charming woman like you from the village. You compliment me again. Come on, drink some wine. Hey, the wine hasn't been served yet. Drink some water first. A stewed river fish, a plate of small river fish stewed in sauce, a plate of small river shrimps, and a plate of green vegetables. The meal for the two looks a bit simple, but the food is good, and the boss's cooking skills are not bad. Especially with a beautiful woman in front of him, it's even more beautiful. This meal is naturally very romantic. The boss also served homemade white wine. You drink too? You still have to drive back. Su Weifeng reminded immediately. Chu Yuxi blinked and said, you're not going back. Who said you're going back? You're not going back. Su Weifeng's eyes were filled with passion. Yes, you can choose to live in the car. PFFT. Su Weifeng was speechless. If they lived here, wouldn't the two of them have to play with the car? Chu Yuxi narrowed her eyes, picked up the wine glass, and said, come on, drink. You will have a chance, only if you drink more. Su Weifeng read a teasing taste in Chu Yuxi's eyes, shook his head gently, and said, okay, don't tease me. You are trying to trick me, and then sue me. Chu Yuxi said angrily, it's useless to sue you now. You are now a core member of the Song family. If I sue you again, the second master will beat me to death. Su Weifeng's eyes showed a fiery threat, and said, doesn't that mean I can do whatever I want to you? Humph, didn't you do whatever you want last time? Chu Yuxi rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, do you want to drink it or not? This wine is made from pure grains. You can't drink it normally. Come on, drink. The two ate and chatted while Chu Yuxi teased Su Weifeng from time to time, which made Su Weifeng feel itchy. This woman is really unbearable for men when she teases people. Su Weifeng thought Chu Yuxi was joking, but Chu Yuxi didn't stop drinking. Her face was getting redder and redder, and it was about to bleed. Her eyes were getting watery, and her body was shaking. It was obvious that she wanted to get herself drunk. A woman was not afraid of getting drunk in front of a man. What did that mean? Even a fool could imagine it. Chu Yuxi's eyes were getting more and more blurred, and Su Weifeng couldn't bear to look away. But Su Weifeng suddenly had a warning in his mind. Hypnosis. Yes. Chu Yuxi was actually hypnotizing him now. Through the previous chat and drinking, Chu Yuxi actually hypnotized him secretly. What does this woman want? Su Weifeng was alert in his heart, but he didn't show it on the surface. Su Weifeng also knows hypnosis, and it's very clever. Chu Yuxi's method is simply a show of skill in front of him. But Su Weifeng naturally couldn't expose it at this time. Instead, he had to pretend to be hypnotized by him deliberately so that he could really know Chu Yuxi's intentions and really find out Chu Yuxi's bottom. Su Weifeng was also very clear about how the hypnotized person would react. Soon, he showed a state that made Chu Yuxi hypnotize him. Su Weifeng, why did you stay? Chu Yuxi picked up the wine glass, took a sip of the wine, and asked with narrowed eyes. The real show finally began. Su Weifeng had a tangled expression and answered, I was just forced. Chu Yuxi frowned. Su Weifeng's behavior showed that the reason in his heart was very important. Even under hypnosis, he didn't want to say it. Then are you really loyal to Song Chengfang? Chu Yuxi changed the subject. This time Su Weifeng's answer was much faster, saying, no, I just couldn't help it. Then do you think I'm beautiful? Beautiful. Then if I were your woman, would you be willing? Yes, but I have a wife and I can't marry you. The answers of the two became smoother and smoother, showing that Su Weifeng's inner vigilance was getting lower and lower. Chu Yuxi once again brought up the most important topic. Tell me your real purpose. You will feel much better if you tell me. Su Weifeng struggled again. After a pause, he said, the Song family and I have a grudge. 2 of my comrades were killed by the Song family 2 days ago. I want to avenge them and destroy the Song family. What? Chu Yuxi screamed. Su Weifeng's body shook, and then he looked at Chu Yuxi with a confused look and said, what's wrong? Nothing. Chu Yuxi bent down and stretched out his hand to pretend to pick up something. When he stood up, there was a spoon in his hand. He said, something fell, and I was startled when I didn't pay attention. Su Weifeng laughed and said, we both drank a little too much. Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, it's too much anyway, so let's drink a little more. Su Weifeng looked like he knew it and drank some more with Chu Yuxi. Chu Yuxi took Su Weifeng directly to a room in the hotel. This hotel also has accommodation, but there are fewer rooms, only 2. At the beginning, a young couple in the hotel occupied one room, and Chu Yuxi and Su Weifeng went to the other. The furnishings in the room were simple, with just a double bed. Su Weifeng took a look, then laughed, and hugged Chu Yuxi all of a sudden, saying, it's getting late, let's go to bed. Don't make trouble, you haven't washed up yet. Why are you still washing? Come on. Su Weifeng said, and kissed Chu Yuxi's mouth directly. At this time, he had to act more anxious. Chu Yuxi tilted her head back, stepped back, and then fell heavily on the bed. Su Weifeng pressed on her directly and said with a smile, you can't run away this time, I won't let you go. Bad guy, wait a minute, if you say a few words to me first, I will obey you, and I will serve you well. Don't look at the 2 little girls in your family who are flirting, I will definitely not be worse than them. Really? Okay, then let's talk more. Su Weifeng looked moved and surprised. Chu Yuxi pushed Su Weifeng and said, don't do this, you are pressing me so hard that I can't breathe, and the wine is about to come out. I will vomit all over the bed later. Let's see how you can play. Yes, then let you take it slowly. Su Weifeng smiled and got up. Chu Yuxi lay down on the bed, then patted her side and said, come, lie here, I can talk to you. Su Weifeng went over and lay down quickly. Chu Yuxi took the initiative to turn sideways and put her hand directly on Su Weifeng's cheek and said with watery eyes, you know, in all these years, there has never been a man who made me so moved. Su Weifeng secretly complained in his heart, thinking that this was just giving some sweet dates first and then hypnotizing him again. Chapter 692, Exposed. Are you telling the truth? Are you not trying to fool me? Su Weifeng's eyes showed doubt. Chu Yuxi's eyes were blurred, and she said, of course not. To be honest, I have never let a man take advantage of me like this in all these years. Last time, you almost did it to me. If I didn't fancy you, how could you have such an opportunity? Su Weifeng grabbed Chu Yuxi's hand and said, Yuxi, I didn't expect that you would like me so much. Yes, I really like you. Let me be your woman. Okay. Okay. Su Weifeng's eyes slowly became dull, and he once again showed a state of hypnosis. Who is your enemy in the Su family? Song Chengren. The year before last, he was. Su Weifeng then told the story of how Song Chengren secretly solved the problem of two people the year before last. This was true, and the victims were also two retired soldiers, and then they were suppressed by the Song family. Few people knew about this, but Chu Yuxi knew about it. This immediately made Chu Yuxi's doubts disappear completely. A person who was hypnotized could still tell such a secret, so it was definitely not fake. You said you were here for revenge, so what do you have in mind? Not yet. I will look for an opportunity. If I provide you with such an opportunity, can you help me? You provide me with an opportunity. I have become a core member of the Song family, and I have Song Chengfang as a cover. How can you help me? I know more about the Song family than you do. Song Chengfang just wants to use you, and will not really help you. Then why did you do this? I can tell you that I'm the same as you. I also have a great hatred for the Song family. My goal is to destroy the Song family. Su Weifeng was secretly shocked. He never thought that Chu Yuxi actually had such a great hatred for the Song family. This reaction was also conveyed to Chu Yuxi, who quickly stroked Su Weifeng's cheek and said, so we two are people with a common goal. If you help me, I will help you. Oh, Oklahoma. This is an unconscious reaction. General hypnosis is to make people answer subconscious questions, and this kind of analysis of pros and cons and making promises is not something that hypnosis can do, at least not something Chu Yuxi can do. And after hypnosis, this process will be completely forgotten. That's why Chu Yuxi dared to say this. She wanted to use this method to make Su Weifeng feel close to them, so that when they talked about cooperation in person in the future, Su Weifeng could also recognize her in his subconscious. Okay, let's go to bed now. Chu Yuxi's tone was indescribably gentle. Su Weifeng complained in his heart, this is simply killing the donkey after it has done its work, just letting people sleep, not even letting them take advantage. Su Weifeng immediately cooperated and slowly closed his eyes, and soon there was a sound of snoring in his sleep. In fact, this is good, otherwise the two of them would really have sex. When he woke up the next morning, Chu Yuxi was no longer in bed. Su Weifeng knew that Chu Yuxi had gotten up more than 10 minutes ago, but he was still pretending to be asleep and got up at this time. When he came out, he saw Chu Yuxi sitting at a table with a bowl in his hand. He smiled and said, get up, come and have some porridge. Su Weifeng came over and sat opposite Chu Yuxi, and the uncle immediately brought him a bowl of steaming porridge. After the uncle walked away, Su Weifeng frowned and said, why can't I remember what happened last night? I was still wearing clothes when I got up this morning. Chu Yuxi rolled his eyes at Su Weifeng and said, how dare you say that? You slept like a pig as soon as you entered the room. I made all the preparations to bring you out in vain. Su Weifeng coughed awkwardly and said, then I missed a great opportunity. Chu Yuxi snorted, looking very dissatisfied, and said, what do you think? He still said with some doubts, I should have drunk too much yesterday. I feel that my alcohol tolerance is okay. Normally, people who get drunk will not know what's going on after drinking. Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, people who drink the wine brewed by the uncle for the first time will feel a little uncomfortable, but they won't get drunk. You shouldn't feel any discomfort now, right? Su Weifeng nodded and said, not bad. My head doesn't hurt at all, and I'm not dizzy, just like I get up normally. The two of them ate pickled vegetables and drank porridge, and Su Weifeng said with a sly look, then what are we going to do today? What? Chu Yuxi chuckled and said, I'll take you to another place. There's still a chance. Su Weifeng's eyes lit up with excitement. There's a chance, a big chance. Chu Yuxi laughed, and she was even more charming. After the two finished their meal, Chu Yuxi drove and took Su Weifeng to a lake. The lake was completely frozen, and there were some people ice fishing in the distance. The two strolled casually on the lake and talked about some irrelevant things. Chu Yuxi suddenly changed the subject and said, what is your purpose in coming here? This question had been asked during hypnosis, but Qiao Yushan obviously wanted to hide her ability to hypnotize. Su Weifeng naturally pretended to be unaware and immediately said, "You should know best how I got here." Haha, stop it. Do you really think I'm one of those fools from the Song family who can't even see this? Tell me your purpose. Qiao Yushan stopped and stood opposite Su Weifeng, staring at Su Weifeng's eyes with burning eyes. Su Weifeng laughed and said, "You think too much. I was forced and bribed. It's that simple." Qiao Yushan said lightly, "Do you really want me to say it out loud?" Su Weifeng looked very aggrieved and said, "You said you can't be so suspicious of people." 2 years ago, 2 retired special forces had a conflict with Song Qijiang of the Song family, and then Song Chenggren arranged 4 people to kill these 2 people directly. How do you know? Su Weifeng seemed to be exposed. He first screamed in panic, and then immediately stared at Qiao Yushan. Qiao Yushan chuckled and said, "What's the matter? Do you want to kill me to silence me?" Su Weifeng looked at Qiao Yushan fiercely and said, "How did you know? Haha, you almost went to bed with me, so of course I had to check you thoroughly, and that's how I found out. Don't worry, I won't tell the Song family about this." Su Weifeng took a deep breath, as if he was suppressing the urge to kill to silence her, and said, "Qiao Yushan, you are so close to me, you must have your purpose. Tell me." Qiao Yushan chuckled and said, "You are very smart. I do have my purpose, and my purpose is the same as yours." "Same?" "Yes, the Song family is also my enemy, and I hate them more than you." At this point, Qiao Yushan's eyes welled up with deep hatred, which was much stronger than when she was hypnotized yesterday. Chapter 693. It's crazy. Su Weifeng knew that Qiao Yushan was trying to give him this impression, but there must be Qiao Yushan's true feelings in it. Su Weifeng asked in a deep voice, "Why do you have such a big grudge against the Song family?" Qiao Yushan took a deep breath and said, "My mother is just an ordinary farm girl, but more than 20 years ago, she was raped by the old bastard of the Song family." At this point, Qiao Yushan bit her lips hard with her teeth, and her lips were bitten bloodless. "Then you." "Yes, and then my mother got pregnant with me. Originally, my mother didn't want me, but that old bastard forced my mother to give birth to me. However, he didn't take us back to the Song family, and his wife even insulted my mother in every way, making my mother even more ashamed to face people in the village. Within a few years, she got sick and died. She was definitely pissed off and forced to death by them." Su Weifeng's mouth twitched and said, "This is really a sad story." Qiao Yushan said even more hatefully, "I have seen how miserable my mother's life was since I was a child. She cried all day long. Even if he compensated me afterwards, I still hated him to the bone." Su Weifeng hesitated for a moment and said, "But he is going to die now, so this matter will be over. His death is over, but what about the other people in the Song family? Do you think Song Chengfang doesn't know my identity? Haha, he knew it a long time ago, and those people in the Song family knew it, but they pretended not to know, and deliberately found various ways to humiliate me. Just like this time they made me a bait to harm you. It was all intentional." Su Weifeng asked in confusion, "What is their purpose?" "They are all the sons of that vicious old woman. They have looked down on me from the beginning, and wanted to bully me. They just look down on me as an illegitimate daughter. They are afraid that we will get involved in the interests of their Song family. I will never forget how they acted high and mighty in front of me, and how they enjoyed humiliating me. I hate everyone in the Song family, so I want to destroy the Song family and leave them with nothing." Qiao Yushan was almost hoarse when she said this. This should be Qiao Yushan's true feeling now. These words and thoughts should have been suppressed in her heart for a long time, and she finally said them out today. Qiao Yushan calmed down, then looked at Su Weifeng with burning eyes again, and said, "I have been preparing for a long time. This time, the Song family is fighting for the position of the family. I have the opportunity to destroy the Song family, but what I lack most is a strong person who can protect me, and I can trust. I lack someone who can destroy the family system of the Song family. I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid that I will not see the day when the Song family is destroyed, and you are the person I'm most satisfied with. As long as you can help me do these, I will agree to do anything you ask me to do, including my people, including all my assets, which will be yours in the future." Finally, Chu Yuxi stared at Su Weifeng with a strong expectation in his eyes. Su Weifeng took a deep breath, and then slowly said, "Okay, I promise you. You really agree?" Chu Yuxi was a little confused about Su Weifeng's promise so readily. Su Weifeng smiled slightly, and said, "Our goals are basically the same, and I can also add a great helper, especially with such tempting conditions. Tell me, what reason do I have for not agreeing?" This. Chu Yuxi suddenly laughed and said, "Now that you put it that way, I feel like you have no reason to refuse, so I can only agree. Yeah." Su Weifeng stretched out his hand. "Happy cooperation. Happy cooperation." Chu Yuxi directly slapped Su Weifeng, then hugged Su Weifeng directly, stood on tiptoes, kissed him on the lips, and said, "I'll advance you some interest first." Su Weifeng laughed and said, "If you put it that way, I'm really embarrassed to touch you before I help you get things done." The interest can be advanced. Chu Yuxi also giggled. The two separated and walked a few steps forward. Su Weifeng said, "Can you tell me what you have prepared?" Chu Yuxi was very straightforward at this time and said, "I have people arranged in various industries of the Song family, and the positions are very important. When Song Chengfang and Song Chenggren fight the most, I will launch an attack at that time, and most of the industries of the Song family will be lost." Su Weifeng frowned and said, "You are killing 1,000 enemies, and losing 800 of your own." Chu Yuxi gritted his silver teeth and said viciously, "I don't care about this. Even if it costs a greater price, I will bring down the Song family." Su Weifeng said, "I have an idea, maybe it's better than what you do." Chu Yuxi stopped and looked at Su Weifeng in confusion, and said, "Is there a better way?" "Yes, let me ask a question first. If you step on the Song family under your feet, it will be better for you to be extremely miserable, or they can only look up to you, and let you decide their life and death." Chu Yuxi answered without hesitation, "Of course, the second one is better." "Yes, so what you did is just the first one. My suggestion to you is to help you achieve the second effect." Chu Yuxi frowned and said, "You said it's simple, but how is it possible?" "As long as you dare to think, it's possible. As long as you change the starting point, there are many ways." Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "For example." "For example what?" Chu Yuxi made Su Weifeng's appetite whetted. Su Weifeng's smile became even stronger, and he slowly said, "For example, you come to compete for the position of the head of the family." "What? Are you crazy?" Chu Yuxi suddenly widened her eyes and shouted. This idea was simply too crazy. She had never thought of it at all, and it shocked her head. Su Weifeng patted Chu Yuxi on the shoulder and said, "What else can compare to you becoming the head of the Song family, and those who have humiliated you will kneel at your feet, which will make you feel more relieved." This. Chu Yuxi shook her head vigorously, and couldn't help but imagine the scene according to Su Weifeng's thoughts. The more she thought about it, the more excited she became. The more she thought about it, the more relieved she felt. There was a crazy look in her eyes. If there really was such a day, even if it was only one day, then all the humiliation that Chu Yuxi and her mother had suffered could be redeemed. Chu Yuxi clenched her fists tightly, gritted her teeth, and said, "Okay, I'll do it." Su Weifeng laughed, stretched out his hand again, and said, "Happy cooperation. Happy cooperation." Chu Yuxi laughed wildly, and even tears flowed out of her eyes. In the laughter, she suddenly hugged Su Weifeng, and kissed him hard on the lips, and they never separated again. Chapter 694, Patting the Head to Kill. After a long time, their lips parted. Chu Yuxi's face was red, and then she suddenly hit Su Weifeng and said, "You guy, I fell for your trick." "How did you fall for my trick?" Su Weifeng hugged Chu Yuxi's waist with a smile on his face. This kiss really brought the two closer, and he couldn't help but treat Chu Yuxi as his own. "Humph, didn't you say you just wanted to kill Song Chenggren? How could you have such a crazy idea? Did you have such an idea a long time ago? It's you who wants the position of the head of the Song family, right?" Su Weifeng stared into Chu Yuxi's eyes, and his heart was tangled for a while. Then he slowly said, "Yuxi, yes, I have another purpose, but this purpose, I absolutely can't tell you now, but it is true that I'll let you be the head of the family, and after you become the head of the family, I will no longer participate in any affairs of the Song family." "What do you mean?" Chu Yuxi frowned slightly. It means that you are the real head of the Song family, and no one will interfere with your decision on the Song family. Chu Yuxi was also a very smart person. Her brain was working quickly, and then she slowly said, but you will use the Song family to do something, right? Yes, but this matter will not affect the Song family, it is just a use. You really have impure intentions. Wait, then you. Chu Yuxi's face turned pale. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, yes, your hypnosis has no effect on me. You. Chu Yuxi was a little panicked. She thought she had used hypnosis to find out Su Weifeng's bottom line, but now she knew that all the bottom lines she had found out were false, and now she confessed everything about herself. Su Weifeng gently hugged her with his arms and said softly, don't be afraid. I'll tell you the truth. In fact, the power I have now is much greater than your Song family. You can go and learn about the ZHU family in our province. ZHU Xiaoxun, the most powerful person in the ZHU family, is also my woman. Chu Yuxi hurriedly checked, and then said with a twitch in the corner of her mouth, you are still hiding it very deeply. This time I was also entrusted by someone to do this, so you don't have to doubt my purpose at all. Our purpose is actually the same. Chu Yuxi smiled bitterly and said, I have other choices now. I originally wanted to pull you on board, but who knew that your ship was bigger, so I got on your pirate ship. Haha, but the reward you promised must be counted. Ah, you are too greedy, and you still want someone else's person. Chu Yuxi hit Su Weifeng's chest with her two small fists, but this was completely a spoiled child. A woman who knows how to act spoiled will have an extra kind of happiness. The two of them quarreled for a while, and Chu Yuxi adjusted her hair and said angrily, okay, you have taken advantage of me enough, now let's talk about business, how can you help me? Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, I will mobilize some forces to make the Song family bear tremendous pressure, so that the people in the Song family will have no ability to solve this problem, and then you will appear to turn the tide and smoothly sit in the position of the head of the family. Chu Yuxi widened his eyes and said, it's that simple. Su Weifeng said with a smile, what do you think? The most difficult thing for me to come here is to find an heir to the head of the family who really needs my trust. Now that I have found it, everything else is not a problem. But, Chu Yuxi suddenly said weakly, I have prepared for so long. If it is solved so easily, wouldn't all my preparations be useless? Su Weifeng sighed and said, you are prepared for hatred, for the destruction of both sides, and how can I bear to let you do this to such a charming woman like you? As a man, I have to let you turn over the page of hatred as soon as possible and resume your original happy life. Chu Yuxi shook her head gently and said, this change is a bit big. I can't accept it for a while. Let me take it slowly. Su Weifeng nodded and said, okay, let's go back. The two got in the car, and this time Su Weifeng drove. Chu Yuxi sat in the passenger seat, closed her eyes, with an uncertain expression on her face, and said nothing. Su Weifeng didn't disturb her either. This incident had a huge impact on Chu Yuxi's heart. It would be strange if she could accept it so easily. It was not until the car stopped downstairs of the company that Chu Yuxi came back to her senses. We are here. Chu Yuxi shook her head gently, smiled at Su Weifeng and said, wait for me, I'll find you in 2 days. Su Weifeng nodded, stretched out his hand to rub Chu Yuxi's hair, and then got out of the car. Chu Yuxi was stunned in her seat. Su Weifeng's touch just now made her feel an indescribable warmth, and even a feeling of family. This feeling was really lacking for her. She didn't have it in the Song family, and she didn't have it in her mother's family. Her mother gave birth to a daughter out of wedlock, and her family also lost face, so no one liked her. She was really melted by this touch. Su Weifeng, I will listen to you in everything. Chu Yuxi muttered silently in her heart. Su Weifeng didn't expect that just a comforting touch could move Chu Yuxi. It was even more effective than everything he said. This was definitely a super head touching kill. Who would have thought that a woman like Chu Yuxi, who had thousands of schemes, would be killed by a head touching, and killed so thoroughly? Su Weifeng came to Song Chengfang's office. Song Chengfang immediately said with a smile, how was it? Did you have a good time last night? Su Weifeng laughed and said, very good. Song Chengfang laughed twice in a very obscene way, and said, haha. Chu Yuxi is a very wild woman, isn't she? Su Weifeng couldn't help but cursed her shameless in his heart. No matter what, Chu Yuxi is also his sister. He actually said this about his sister. The most important thing is that Song Chengfang also facilitated this matter. There is really no brother-sister relationship at all. And this guy is really in acting school. Su Weifeng didn't even realize that he knew Chu Yuxi's identity. Su Weifeng laughed dryly, then deliberately hesitated for a while, and said, "Second master, I got a piece of news from her. It seems that she has someone in the Song family's company. You know it so soon. You are very capable. This Chu Yuxi really trusts you." Song Chengfang narrowed his eyes. Su Weifeng hurriedly said, "I just heard her say it accidentally on the phone with someone else. Haha, pay more attention to her information in this regard in the future. Notify me when you know it, but don't let anyone else know. Got it?" Su Weifeng couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Judging from Song Chengfang's performance, he clearly knew that Chu Yuxi had arranged people in the Song family, so he must have made corresponding arrangements. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 695 Special Hobby. For 2 consecutive days, Chu Yuxi did not come to Su Weifeng, nor did she call him, or send him a message. Su Weifeng did not look for her either. She could only figure this out by herself. In the past 2 days, Song Chengfang was obviously very busy, meeting people in various ways, and Su Weifeng participated in some things. Song Chengfang talked to some people privately, and did not let Su Weifeng participate. Su Weifeng did not need to use any means to monitor them at all. Teo had already taken care of all this. Now, almost all the actions and words of the important people in the Song family are under Teo's control. Mobile phones are a great invention, and they have added endless convenience to people. Everyone keeps their mobile phones in their hands, even when they go to the toilet or take a shower. Normally, mobile phones have strong enough security software, but this is only safe enough for general use. For Teo, these electronic devices are like countless eyes installed for her. She can see whoever she wants. In Song Chengfang's eyes, Su Weifeng knew when to advance and retreat, knew what he should know, and didn't know what he shouldn't know. This made him more satisfied with Su Weifeng and more trusting of him. On the 3rd night, when Su Weifeng returned home, he saw Chu Yuxi standing opposite Tao, looking tense. Liu King and Liu Jia were standing beside him, looking flustered and at a loss. As soon as Teo saw Su Weifeng coming in, she immediately asked angrily, "Su Weifeng, you bastard, what's the matter with this woman?" Su Weifeng hurriedly said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Teo was so angry that she said, "This woman actually said she is your woman." Chu Yuxi looked at Su Weifeng with a smile, and said, "You won't deny it, right?" Su Weifeng coughed lightly, hugged Teo, and said, "Don't be angry, I will explain it to you slowly. This is actually true, you bastard. I came here to accompany you, and let you take advantage of these 2 little girls, and you were still hunting for food outside. Do you still have any conscience?" Chu Yuxi said slowly, "What you said is not right. What's wrong with me?" Teo turned his head suddenly, glaring at Chu Yuxi viciously. Chu Yuxi hugged her shoulders and said, "It's very simple. If you were Weifeng's wife, then it would be my duty to serve you. But you are just Weifeng's lover, which is the same as me. Why don't you let me come?" Teo's momentum weakened, but he immediately straightened his chest and said, "Even if I'm a lover, I have been with him for a long time. You are the one he just hooked up with. Can't you tell the difference between the big and small one?" Chu Yuxi shrugged her shoulders and said, "Of course I can tell the difference. I can be polite to you, but you can't treat me like Weifeng's wife, right? I can't accept that. I treat you like this. So, if you have the ability, don't come. I'm here. Anyway, you have no right to drive me away." Teo made Chu Yuxi so angry that she stomped her feet, then shook Su Weifeng's arm hard, and said, Look, who did you find? He made me so angry just after he came. If it takes a long time, he will pee on my head. Okay, I'll talk to her. Su Weifeng patted Teoteo's shoulder quickly, then said to Chu Yuxi with a wry smile, "Yuxi, don't be angry with her." Chu Yuxi pouted and said, "You are biased towards her." Teoteo was proud for a moment, raised his chin and said, "How long have we been together? And how long have you been together? You want to bully me so soon? It's impossible, Weifeng, don't you think?" "Yes, yes." Su Weifeng looked like he was coaxing Teoteo, then winked at Chu Yuxi, pretending to be fierce, and said, "Talk to Teoteo nicely in the future." Chu Yuxi pursed her lips in grievance and said, "I know." Finally, the anger of the two was calmed down. Su Weifeng waved his hand and said to Liu King and Liu Jia, "You guys go about your business. You don't need to serve here." Liu King and Liu Jia agreed and went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Teoteo then blinked at Su Weifeng and said, "How was my acting? Can I win an award?" Su Weifeng kissed her lightly on the face and said, "Give me a reward first." Teoteo giggled, then blinked at Chu Yuxi and said, "Listen to me in the future." The expression on Chu Yuxi's face suddenly became somewhat wonderful, and then he chuckled again, gave Su Weifeng and Teoteo a thumbs up, and said, "Awesome, I believed it, and wanted to tease you clearly." Teoteo was even more proud and said, "Of course, my acting skills are superb." Chu Yuxi now knows very well that Teoteo is definitely a person Su Weifeng trusts extremely. She is very clear about Su Weifeng's affairs, and she is also clear about her situation. The three of them sat down, and Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Have you figured it out?" Chu Yuxi gave a wry smile and said, "I have no other choice." Su Weifeng said, "I will ensure that this choice is better than your previous ones. I know, so I will pay the interest." As she said that, she took Su Weifeng's arm and leaned on Su Weifeng, looking at Teoteo with a smile. Teoteo chuckled and said, Why pay interest? Just give me the principal and interest together." Chu Yuxi laughed, turned to look at Su Weifeng, and said, "Is it necessary?" Teoteo immediately said excitedly, "Yes, it must be necessary. It's settled." I agreed on his behalf. Chu Yuxi's smile froze for a moment, and he was stunned. After a while, he said, "Are you so excited?" "How can I not be excited? You guys have sex. It's so exciting." Chu Yuxi's face turned black, and he said, "Wouldn't it be more exciting if you did it by yourself?" No, 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 I'm so boring myself. I like watching you guys have sex the most." It's settled today. You guys have sex and I'll watch. Watch. Chu Yuxi suddenly grasped the point of the words, narrowed his eyes, and said, "You haven't had sex before?" Teoteo puffed out his chest and said, "Of course I have, but I prefer to watch. This is a special fetish." Chu Yuxi's mouth twitched. We can understand such a hobby, but it is rare to talk about it so openly and confidently. Your hobby is really amazing. I really have to admit defeat. Tao Tao smiled and said, "No need to admit defeat. You should be well, and don't have any psychological burden. Wait, I will ask Liu King and Liu Jia to prepare more supplements, so that this guy can be full of energy tonight." Su Weifeng grabbed Tao Tao. He was so angry. Among all the women he knew, none of them could make as much trouble as Tao Tao. Chapter 696, Plan. During the meal, Teoteo and Chu Yuxi used their eyes to provoke each other for a while. These were all for Liu King and Liu Jia to see. So far, Su Weifeng is still very wary of these two people, even if they act harmless. After dinner, the three of them came to the study upstairs. Su Weifeng said directly, "Let's study now. What should we do next?" Chu Yuxi frowned, glanced at it, and said, "Are you sure?" Teoteo chuckled and said, "This is the house that guy gave you. Are you worried that it is being monitored?" Chu Yuxi didn't say anything, just nodded. Su Weifeng smiled and said, "With Teoteo here, any monitoring equipment will be useless. Here, apart from paying attention to Liu King and Liu Jia, you can rest assured." Chu Yuxi looked at Teoteo in surprise and said, "Then I really underestimated you." Teoteo puffed out his chest and said, "That's right, you underestimated me in many ways." Chu Yuxi's eyes subconsciously looked at the source of sin on Teoteo's chest, then looked down at himself, shook his head, and said in deep agreement, "I admit this." Teoteo naturally knew what Chu Yuxi was referring to, and smiled, and said, "You don't need to feel inferior. This guy doesn't have high requirements for this. The women in the family are not big. Su Weifeng's face darkened and said, let's talk about business, stop fooling around. Teo stuck out his tongue, stopped fooling around, and turned on the computer directly. Chu Yuxi took a breath and said, then tell me your specific ideas. Su Weifeng also nodded and said, from the information we have, Song Chengfang and Song Chenggren have both had deep contacts with several families outside. In order to compete for the position of the head of the family, they are ready to use external forces to intervene. However, Song Chengfang has not yet reached any specific agreement with the outside world. He is still hesitant, fearing that these families will be involved in the competition for the head of the family. Even if he takes the position of the head of the family, he will not be able to get rid of it. But Song Chenggren has already agreed on a way to cooperate with other families. We can use this as a breakthrough. Chu Yuxi's eyes lit up and said, then Song Chenggren will be excluded by the Song family, and it will be more difficult for him to obtain the position of the head of the family. He will definitely not be willing to accept it, and will definitely take more drastic measures. That's right. Su Weifeng nodded and said, and once they use all means, the families outside will definitely start to attack the Song family immediately. What we have to do is to add fuel to the flames and make the pressure on the Song family greater and greater. Chu Yuxi thought for a moment and said, even if some things are swallowed up by other families, that is a loss we can afford. Su Weifeng nodded and said, there will be a little loss. Some of the Song family's assets are already a burden, and there is no harm in getting rid of them. Okay, then how can I convince everyone in the end? Chu Yuxi asked the most core question. Su Weifeng said, it is definitely not enough to have only your identity. When you come forward, you must have the means to turn the tide and ensure that the Song family can still be as glorious as before. This can be divided into two aspects. One is internal and the other is external. The internal is within the Song family. You need someone to support you. At that time, Song Chengshan and Song Chengai will support you. Chu Yuxi said in surprise, they support me? Although these two people don't fight, they are very smart. Look at this. Tao Tao pushed the computer in front of Chu Yuxi. Chu Yuxi frowned at first, then his eyes lit up, and he said, with these things, it seems that they can only listen to me. Su Weifeng nodded and said, yes, you have caught their handle, and if you give them enough benefits, how can they not support you? Chu Yuxi nodded, and the expectation in his eyes became stronger, and said, what about the outside? The outside means cooperation with other families, which can ensure that the Chu family has better development opportunities in the future. This is not only within Bincheng. We will also let several families here give you enough cooperation projects. Although it is not convenient for foreign families to intervene in your Bincheng, giving cooperation can also give you enough confidence. Okay, then do it. What Su Weifeng said was just a big framework. In fact, there are still many details to be improved. When everything was almost discussed, Chu Yuxi suddenly shook his head, and there was a kind of awe in his eyes when he looked at Su Weifeng. Why are you looking at me like that? Su Weifeng asked. Chu Yuxi smiled bitterly and said, Song's family is so big, and you are thinking about it so much, that it will completely change its owner. You are really terrible. Teo chuckled and said, only his enemies will be afraid of him. You are his woman. Why are you afraid of him? Chu Yuxi shook her head and said, I'm afraid of him. I'm afraid that he will sell me out too. Teo sneered and said, you are so stupid. If you are afraid of him, then you should beat him up in bed at night. No matter how strong he is no match for a woman in bed. If you make him feel good, are you still afraid that he will not obey you? Chu Yuxi blushed, but nodded and said, what you said makes sense. Then what are you waiting for? Go quickly. Teo jumped up excitedly and grabbed Su Weifeng and Chu Yuxi's hands. But Su Weifeng and Chu Yuxi did not do as she wished, so Chu Yuxi left. At this time, it is better for her to maintain a subtle relationship with Su Weifeng, so as not to let the Song family think too much. The next day, Su Weifeng started to make the first move on the Song family. When he arrived at Song Chengfang's office, Su Weifeng frowned and said to Song Chengfang, Second Master, I found something that seems to be a little bit wrong. Song Chengfang raised his head and said carefully, what is it? You've been asking me to pay attention to Third Master's movements, and I've been paying attention to him for the past 2 days. He's been in frequent contact with important figures from other families these 2 days. Well, I know that. Do you find anything wrong? Su Weifeng said, knowing where he was going yesterday. I installed a bug there in advance, and I recorded this. As he spoke, Su Weifeng took out his mobile phone, opened an audio file, and pressed the play button. Song Leo-san, don't worry, as long as you give us the company in Leo-er's house, we will definitely fully support you to become the head of the family. Asshole. When Song Chengfang heard this, he immediately slammed the table in anger. The third brother is a bastard. He is competing with me for the position of the head of the family in an upright manner. I don't mind. But he actually dared to communicate with foreign enemies. It's simply treason. Su Weifeng felt a little disdainful in his heart. This guy said something righteous, but actually he didn't think so in his heart. He was just hesitating. Chapter 697, The Dispute Over the Patriarch. Weifeng, you did a good job. I have always wanted to find evidence against the third brother, but I couldn't find anything. You found such useful information in such a short time. Song Chengfang also praised Su Weifeng. Thank you for the compliment, second master. This is what I should do. Su Weifeng quickly said modestly. Song Chengfang nodded with satisfaction and said, I'm afraid this part is not enough. If you have a chance, it is best to go to the third brother's house to see if you can find any important evidence. Su Weifeng hesitated a little. I know this matter is very dangerous. The third brother must be very careful now. Important things must be protected very strictly. However, the sooner I get these evidences, the sooner I can fight for the position of the head of the family, and the Song family can be stable. Su Weifeng said, okay, I will try, but I can't guarantee whether I can succeed. Yes, this matter cannot be forced. You must be careful. Don't be stubborn. If you feel it is not right, don't do it. If you are caught, he will use you to fight back against me. I understand. Su Weifeng said that he would do it, but in fact he was just pretending. These things have been in my hands for a long time. It's just a matter of time before they are taken out. A week passed quickly. All the people of the Song family gathered together again, and this time the scale was even larger. Not only the core members, but also some important figures of the Song family, including Chu Yuxi, were present. Song Qijiang said with a smile, hey, Chu Yuxi, why are you here? Have you found a few more men recently? In fact, Chu Yuxi is his aunt. He also knows, but he still speaks to Chu Yuxi in this tone. Another son of the Song family also laughed and said, haha, she is Su Weifeng's woman now. She must have served her well, otherwise how dare she come to our Song family? They are all from the line of the third master Song Qingren, which is incompatible with the line of the second master. Now mocking Chu Yuxi is also mocking Su Weifeng. Why not? Chu Yuxi used to hear such words, even if she didn't care on the surface, but she was furious in her heart. But now, she is very calm in her heart. The more ruthless these people speak, the greater the shock will soon be. So the smile on her face was brighter than usual, and she said, you are right, I finally found a man who satisfies me. Song Qijiang sneered and said, PFFT, you are really a slut, look at how wild you are when it comes to men. Chu Yuxi still smiled and said, then you don't understand. No matter how wild I'm with a man I like, it's worth it. Song Chengfang happened to come over and immediately laughed and said, that's right, Yuxi, if you have any problems in the future, I will protect you. Chu Yuxi also smiled sweetly and said, thank you, second master. Yuxi will do my best to serve you in the future. After that, she walked straight to Su Weifeng behind Song Chengfang and directly took Su Weifeng's arm. The Song family members all looked a little unhappy. Although they didn't reveal Chu Yuxi's identity as a member of the Song family, they also knew that Chu Yuxi also controlled some of the resources of the Song family. Song Qingren had thought about winning over Chu Yuxi before, but he had never succeeded. Now Chu Yuxi has expressed his support for Song Chengfang, which undoubtedly adds some strength to Song Chengfang. In this position of the head of the family, Song Chengfang also has a heavy bargaining chip. Song Chengren's face is even more ugly, while Song Chengshan and Song Chengai have a thoughtful look on their faces. The beating begins. As the eldest brother, Song Chengshan still speaks first. After sighing, Song Chengshan said loudly, "All the Song family members, my father is seriously ill and has lost his backbone. Now the Song family is at the most critical moment. Other families outside are eyeing our Song family covetously. In just 1 week, our Song family has lost several important resources. If this continues, our Song family will be in danger. The biggest problem of our Song family now is that there is no real head of the family who can give orders, and the internal friction is serious. If this continues, under the internal and external troubles, our Song family may not be able to hold on for long. For our Song family, for all the Song family members, we must elect a head of the family today and bring everyone together again, so that the strength of the Song family can be demonstrated again. What do you think?" After Song Chengshan finished speaking, everyone was quiet for a few seconds, and then someone immediately shouted, "We support the re-establishment of the head of the family. The candidate for the head of the family must be decided immediately. This matter can't be postponed any longer." Song Chengshan's eyes swept over the 3 brothers, and the 3 of them nodded. Song Chengshan waved his hand, and everyone fell silent. "Okay, let's select the head of our Song family today. Whoever wants to be the head of the family must state his position and say how to lead the Song family to regain its glory. Finally, everyone will decide who will be the head of the family." Everyone knew that the heads of the family now were Song Chengfang and Song Chenggren, so everyone's eyes were focused on the 2 of them. Song Chenggren stood up first and said in a deep voice, "I want to be the head of the family." Everyone was a little surprised. Song Chenggren, who was usually gloomy, rarely spoke first. Unexpectedly, he took the initiative this time. Song Chengfang also stood up and said loudly, "I, Song Chengfang, am willing to be the head of the Song family." Then the 2 of them stated their own ideas and concepts. This surprised Su Weifeng. This seemed to be the meaning of democratic elections. However, what the 2 said was actually the same. It was nothing more than calming down internal disputes and diplomatic relations with other families. In fact, almost everyone had thought about these. This is how the major families have been over the years, and everyone is used to it. After saying this, Song Chenggren began to debate fiercely, and at this time he began to point out the other party's flaws and various mistakes. This sounded more exciting and fun. Song Chenggren usually didn't talk much, but at this time, he was sharp-tongued, and every sentence hit the point. Although Song Chengfang was also a figure, he was weaker than Song Chenggren in verbal disputes and thinking reaction ability. He was inevitably at a disadvantage. But when Song Chengfang brought out that Song Chenggren colluded with foreign enemies and lost a lot of interests of the Song family, he still made up for it. When the 2 of them came to an end, Song Chengshan took a deep breath and said, "Now, please decide." "Wait." With a clear shout, Chu Yuxi stood up. "What do you want?" Song Chengshan frowned. Chu Yuxi's face was not as charming as usual, but rather a kind of coldness and nobility. His eyes swept across everyone's faces and slowly said, "I will take the position of the head of the family." "What?" Everyone was stunned and stared at Chu Yuxi in amazement. Chapter 698. Is there anyone who disagrees? Did I hear correctly? Yeah. Is there something wrong with my ears? Chu Yuxi actually came to compete for the position of patriarch. It's so funny. After a moment of silence, everyone started to make noises. Song Chengshan waved his hand to quiet everyone down and said in a deep voice, "This is the election of patriarch. You can't make trouble." Chu Yuxi smiled proudly and said, "Patriarch of the Song family, as long as you are a direct descendant of the Song family, you will have the opportunity to compete. Not bad?" Song Chengshan's mouth twitched, but he still nodded and said, "Not bad." Chu Yuxi said loudly again, "I, Chu Yuxi, am a direct descendant of the Song family and a second-generation descendant. Several brothers, you don't want to deny it, right?" The 4 brothers of the Song family looked at each other, and then Song Chengshan nodded and said, "Yes, we admit it." Since Chu Yuxi took the initiative to bring up this matter, they would not deny it. But the 4 of them were confused. They all knew that Chu Yuxi hated the Song family, and it was unreasonable to come forward at this time. Song Chengshan turned around and asked Su Weifeng in a low voice, "What's going on?" Su Weifeng shook his head gently, indicating that he didn't know. Song Chengfang thought that Su Weifeng was being used by Chu Yuxi, so he didn't ask any more questions. Song Chengren breathed a sigh of relief. What he feared most was that Chu Yuxi would use this identity to support Song Chengfang. Since Song Chengfang didn't know either, it wouldn't hurt to let Chu Yuxi make a fuss. Chu Yuxi then said, since you acknowledge my identity as a direct descendant of the Song family, why can't I be the head of the family? Song Qijiang immediately yelled, bah, you are an illegitimate daughter, what qualifications do you have to be the head of the family? Yes, the head of our Song family must have the ability to convince others and lead the development of our Song family. What can you do to make us obey? Relying on a family general you hooked up with. Heh, a slut who can sleep with anyone actually wants to be the head of our Song family. Does that mean our Song family is empty? Chu Yuxi's sharp eyes swept over these noisy people one by one. At this time, those people actually felt a little cold in their hearts and subconsciously shut up. Song Chengshan said at this time, since you want to be the head of the family, then tell us what you can bring to the Song family, and everyone will judge. Chu Yuxi smiled faintly, took out his mobile phone and operated it, and then said faintly, Song Chengshan, Song Chengaiyu, you look at something first. Song Chengshan and Song Chengaiyu both took out their mobile phones, and their faces changed drastically when they saw it. Chu Yuxi ignored the two of them, looked at Song Chengfang and Song Chengren, and said, when I become the head of the family, the first thing I will do is to invest 10 billion in the family business. 10 billion. All the Song family members screamed out loud. If the Song family is calculated based on assets alone, there must be 10 billion, but the development this year is very poor, and the cash flow is already very bad. Even the average Song family member's monthly payment is only tens of thousands of yuan. Song Chengfang won over Su Weifeng and gave so many benefits. That was all his private money that he had saved for many years, and he gritted his teeth to give it. To be honest, the Song family is really short of money now, and cash is definitely very important for the development of a large family. 10 billion is definitely a huge attraction for the current Song family. You have 10 billion? Are you kidding? Song Chengren sneered disdainfully and said, your assets are only a few hundred million, and they are still in that investment company. Chu Yuxi smiled faintly and said, I don't have it, but my man does. Who? Everyone asked in unison. Su Weifeng stood beside Chu Yuxi and said lightly, me. You? Song Chengfang's eyes widened immediately. Su Weifeng said lightly, second master, thank you for your care recently. You have so much money? Song Chengshan was concerned about the money. Su Weifeng nodded and said, yes. Song Chengshan frowned and asked, then why do you get involved in our Song family's affairs? Su Weifeng snorted and said, you Song family members actually came to bully my woman. I will naturally not let this bastard go. Then you also set a plan for me. If I don't deal with your Song family, then I, Su Weifeng, will not let you underestimate me. Song Chengren asked in a deep voice, who are you? You Song family members are really useless. As long as you investigate deeply, you can always find out about my situation in Yangcheng. If I say that I'm the head of the underground family in Yangcheng, no family dares to object. Head of the underground family. All the people in the Song family were shocked. That means Su Weifeng has commanded all the families in a city, while their Song family is just a family in Bincheng. The strength is completely incomparable. Especially Song Chengren and Song Qijiang. Their faces changed drastically at this time, and they hurried to verify. When they investigated Su Weifeng before, they never thought about what family Su Weifeng belonged to, so they didn't investigate in this regard. Now, after checking with the people from the Yangcheng family they immediately knew Su Weifeng's true identity. Everyone lost their temper at once. Su Weifeng snorted, then turned his gaze to Chu Yuxi, and his expression softened. He said, I originally wanted to deal with you, but I met Yuxi and knew her situation, so I changed my mind. I want her to be the head of the Song family. I wonder if you have any opinions? Chu Yuxi took Su Weifeng's arm. At this moment, her heart was really sweet. With a man supporting her, she suddenly felt too relaxed. Song Chengren gritted his teeth and said, even if you are willing to take out 10 billion for Chu Yuxi, you are in Yangcheng, and you can't reach Bincheng. The external pressure on the Song family is so great now. It's not just a problem that can be solved with money. How can you solve these problems? External problems? Haha, are you talking about these people who are coming in? As soon as Su Weifeng finished speaking, a group of people suddenly broke in. All the members of the Song family stood up. The Li family, the Zhao family, the Wang family. All the people who came in were from the big families in Bincheng, and they were all people of very high status. At this time, these people suddenly appeared, and the Song family immediately felt a strong pressure. Song Chengshan greeted them and said, "Dear bosses, what wind brought you here today?" Haha, Chengshan, I heard that you are going to choose a new head of the family today, so we came to watch the excitement and congratulate the new head of the family by the way. That's right. On the day when the new head of the family is established, how can we not congratulate him? Wouldn't it show that our big families in Bincheng have no etiquette? We have prepared the gifts and are waiting for the new head of the family. Yes, who is the head of the family? Talk to us. This is not the way a new head of the family should treat guests. Song Chengfang and Song Chenggren looked at each other. At this time, they really didn't dare to stand up. From the attitude of these people, it can be seen that whoever stands up to recognize this head of the family today may be torn to pieces by people from other families. Then many people's eyes were suddenly focused on Chu Yuxi and Su Weifeng. Chapter 699, A Tiger Among the Flock of Sheep. Song Chengfang stepped forward and said with a gloomy face, "Everyone, after our Song family selects the head of the family, we will choose an auspicious day to announce it. Then we will invite you to come. Today's selection of the head of the family is still an internal matter of our Song family. Don't worry about it." Song Chenggren also stepped forward and said, "Yes, the affairs of our Song family will be resolved by our Song family." Although Song Chenggren also won over the two families to support him, now almost all the families in Bincheng have come here. He has long known that they are not here to help him. It seems that the head of this family is still chosen from you two brothers. What's the matter? It hasn't been decided yet? That's right, you usually fight fiercely. Why don't you even have the courage to admit that you are the head of the family at this time? Many people from the family began to sneer. Song Chenggren and Song Chengfang both looked ugly, but they still didn't dare to get angry at this time. Shut up. This is the territory of the Song family. It's not your turn to talk too much. With a clear shout, Chu Yuxi stood up. A member of the Wang family frowned and said disdainfully, "Huh? Isn't this Chu Yuxi? How can it be your turn to speak here?" Song Chengshan hesitated for a moment and said, "Yuxi is my biological sister, and now she is the head of our Song family. Yes, she is the head of our Song family." Although Song Chengfang felt bitter at this time, in order to protect himself, he admitted it without hesitation. The people from the outside families were all a little confused. In order to seize the Song family, these families in Bincheng had actually united together long ago. They had already studied how to swallow up the Song family and how to distribute the benefits. Whether it was Song Chengfang or Song Chenggren who became the head of the family, they were confident enough to make them surrender. But Chu Yuxi suddenly appeared and completely broke everyone's plan. "Are you sure that you have the final say in the Song family now?" a man in his 50s asked in a deep voice. Chu Yuxi smiled coldly and said, "Yes, as the head of the family, you naturally have the final say. Since you are here to congratulate me, the new head of the family, then come on." The man laughed and said, "Okay, then I will give you the gift." Immediately, someone took a box and handed it to the man. The man brought the box to Chu Yuxi, then slowly opened the box and said, "Congratulations to the new head of the family for good luck." Chu Yuxi's face changed drastically when he saw what was in the box. There was a dead chicken in the box, and it was covered in blood. "How dare you? How dare you insult the head of the family? Kneel down and admit your mistake." Su Weifeng shouted, kicked out, and kicked the guy's knee directly. With a plop, the guy immediately knelt in front of Chu Yuxi, raised the box in his hand, and threw out the dead chicken. Su Weifeng acted quickly, and before everyone could recover, the important person in the big family had already knelt in front of Chu Yuxi. "How dare you? How dare you?" Countless people shouted angrily. Several people flew out, all of them were masters. This time they came here, they had made sufficient preparations, and naturally they brought many masters with them. The people of the Song family were also frightened. Many people secretly cursed Su Weifeng in their hearts. This move was simply too cruel. This immediately reached the peak of the conflict and there was no room for maneuver. Several family generals of the Song family looked at each other at this time. The other side had so many family generals coming out. Under normal circumstances, it should be the time for them to take action. But the other side rushed out nearly 20 people at once. They were familiar with these people. They were all top masters in the major families. If the 6 of them went out, it would be like going to die. At this time, a figure jumped out directly and came to Su Weifeng's side, shouting softly, "I'll help you." It turned out to be Chendang, the top master of the Song family. "I'll come too." 2 more masters followed, but the other 3 stood there without moving. They all lowered their heads, knowing very well that, if they didn't leave now, they would be considered to have abandoned the Song family, and they would never be able to gain a foothold in the Song family again. But it was much better than committing suicide. One of the big families on the opposite side glared and shouted, "How dare you hurt people? Are you bullying us, the other families, because we have no one? You, the Song family, are too arrogant." Qiao Yushan was not afraid of danger at this time, and said proudly, "I'm now the head of the Song family. You, the children, can only be treated as equals by the head of your family. He is an ordinary family child, but he is disrespectful to me and dares to humiliate me with this thing. You are so arrogant. Qiao Yushan, you really take yourself seriously. Even if you are the head of the Song family, you have reached the end of your position. Everyone, get rid of them all." "Yes." The family generals agreed in unison and rushed forward. Su Weifeng sneered and said, "Do you dare to fight me and them? Why not? It's just a matter of death." Chendang chuckled and rushed forward. The other 2 also gritted their teeth and went forward without hesitation. The people of the Song family all looked miserable at this time. After these family generals fell, they would face the people of these big families next. The consequences waiting for them would be miserable. Qiao Yushan turned around and glanced at everyone, snorted coldly, and said, "Today, Su Weifeng and I are here to ensure the peace of the Song family." The people of the Song family smiled bitterly in their hearts. In this situation, Qiao Yushan was the first to bear the brunt. It was difficult to save herself, let alone save the rest of the Song family. "You are just a bunch of country chickens and clay dogs, and you dare to run wild in my Song family. Today you can come, but you can't leave." Su Weifeng said loudly, and then rushed directly into the crowd of the other family generals. "What a arrogant boy. Where did this boy come from? How come I haven't seen him before? It seems that he is a new family general recruited by Song Laoer. It is said that his strength is comparable to Chendang. So what? We have many people who are comparable to Chendang. It is a joke that he wants to turn the tide with his own strength." Many people from other families were dismissive of Su Weifeng's big talk. But soon, the situation made them dumbfounded. Su Weifeng rushed into the crowd like a tiger into a flock of sheep. Those so-called masters seemed to be paper in front of Su Weifeng. They fell down when they were touched and flew away when they were touched. There was no one who could stand up to him at all. The first one to be knocked down might be an accident, but the successive ones were definitely a sign of strength. The people of the Song family had already lost all confidence, but at this time, watching Su Weifeng knock one person after another down, their confidence was gradually increasing. Qiao Yushan's eyes were fixed on Su Weifeng. At this moment, she was finally sure that Su Weifeng was her true love, the one she wanted to follow all her life. Chapter 700 Unforeseen. Bang! Chendang knocked the opponent to the ground with one punch, and he couldn't help but feel a little confused. This guy was obviously as strong as himself, and they had fought before. If the 2 of them fought, it would take at least a few minutes to decide the winner. How come he was defeated by himself in less than 2 rounds? And his strength was clearly not fully exerted. When he attacked, the opponent was obviously a little slow to react. But in this situation, he didn't have time to think too much. He could beat one now, to make up for his losses, and one more would be a profit. At the moment of life and death of the Song family, he, the former top master of the Song family, must take enough responsibility. Before rushing to the second opponent, Chendang still knocked the opponent down in 2 moves. In this way, Chendang easily solved the opponent several times in a row. But when he went to look for an opponent again, he found that he could no longer find an opponent. All the enemies were lying on the ground at this time. What? Chendong widened his eyes, wondering if he had seen it wrong. What was going on? Why did all these people fall down? Did they all have some kind of acute illness? The other two family generals of the Song family were just as confused as Chendong. They also couldn't figure out when they became so powerful, or the opponent's strength had decreased so much, how come these masters of other families were so vulnerable? After Su Weifeng made his move, he temporarily changed his strategy. He couldn't always be in Bincheng, so the strength and deterrence of the Song family itself were the most important, and this family general was naturally the most important link. So he made a move secretly, allowing Chendong and his men to easily defeat many people, showing enough strength, which was undoubtedly the most deterrent. Looking at the Song family members were stunned, but their eyes were full of surprise. Looking at the children of other families, they were dumbfounded, and their faces were full of horror and panic. Chendong looked at Su Weifeng again, who was calm and composed, and suddenly understood. He was about to say something, but was warned by Su Weifeng's eyes. He immediately understood, and immediately straightened his chest and shouted loudly, "Do you still dare to fight with my Song family?" There were still 20 or 30 people left, but these people were all children of big families, and had no fighting power at all. At this time, they were immediately frightened by Chendong's shouting, and all subconsciously took a step back. Chendong then turned around, and strode to Chu Yuxi, bowed respectfully, and said loudly, "Master, we have dealt with the foreign enemies. Please give us your instructions." Chu Yuxi took a deep breath, showed a faint smile, and said, "Well done, everyone, retreat first." Chendong immediately stood behind Chu Yuxi, with his back straight. The other two family generals also came to their senses at this time, and hurried over to stand beside Chendong. When Su Weifeng stood beside him, Chendong looked at Su Weifeng's back with awe in his eyes. This man was too powerful. Well, then we won't bother you Song family anymore. The other family members had already started to think about retreating. But Chu Yuxi's face darkened, and he said, "Is the Song family a place where you can just leave as you please?" A member of the Li family shouted, "Chu Yuxi, what else do you want?" Chu Yuxi sneered and said, "We all know why you came here. If you gain the upper hand today, what will happen to our Song family? Now that you are out of power, you want to just leave like this? Do you really think our Song family is so easy to bully?" The Li family member also sneered and said, "Chu Yuxi, do you think that you can give orders to other families just because you have a few family generals and a few masters? You are so naive." Su Weifeng suddenly shouted coldly at this time, "Are you qualified to call the head of the family by his name? Slap me for being so disrespectful." Chendong rushed out when he heard this. How could these people stop him? He came directly in front of the Li family member and slapped him with a few big slaps. Then he flashed back and stood behind Chu Yuxi like a javelin again. The faces of the people from other families all showed humiliation. But what Su Weifeng said was not wrong at all. Chu Yuxi was now the head of the Song family, and these people had a high status in the family, but they were obviously not the head of the family yet, and they had not yet reached the qualification to be on equal footing with the head of the family. Everyone looked at each other, and then cast their eyes on a man in his 50s, Xiao Dingshan from the Xiao family. The Xiao family had the highest status among these families in Bincheng, and Xiao Dingshan naturally had the highest status among these people. At the beginning, they thought they had a sure win, so everyone rushed to the front. Now that things have become critical, Xiao Dingshan has to come out and make the decision. Xiao Dingshan coughed lightly and walked in front of the crowd. "Chu, Patriarch. I'm Xiao Dingshan of the Xiao family. Congratulations to Patriarch Chu on becoming the Patriarch of the Song family." "Yeah." Chu Yuxi nodded and said, "What do you have to say?" Xiao Dingshan first performed courtesy to avoid being hit, and then straightened his chest and said, "Patriarch Song has just taken the position of Patriarch. I think the Song family must have a lot of things to deal with. Now it is not a wise move to conflict with so many of our families." Chu Yuxi snorted and said, "To fight internal troubles, you must first stabilize the external situation. You have bullied my Song family. As the head of the family, I must fight for the Song family." Xiao Dingshan said in a deep voice, "Patriarch Chu, you should know that family generals are only part of the family's strength. Even if your Song family has an advantage in this regard, I'm afraid that the real strength of your Song family is only equivalent to one of our families. If you are still so aggressive, it means that you are enemies with all of our other families. Whether the Song family can still gain a foothold in Bincheng in the future, this matter still needs to be considered by Patriarch Chu. Chu Yuxi suddenly chuckled and said, Xiao Dingshan, what you said is really hypocritical. If I'll let you go today, you will not be enemies with our Song family? If I don't care about it today, you cannot care about it with our Song family. Since we have to be enemies, why should I give you this face? With a gloomy face, Chu Yuxi snorted coldly and said, listen to me, Song family members, all of you stay here today. If you let anyone go, I will only ask you. Yes, I will never let anyone go. As soon as Chu Yuxi finished speaking, the Song family members shouted in unison. Since the old man was seriously ill, the Song family has been half a head shorter than the people of other families. Now Chu Yuxi has just become the head of the family, and he is so proud that he has removed the breath of depression in everyone's hearts. At this time, morale is really high. Even the direct descendants of Song Chenggren and Song Chengfang were also aroused at this time and shouted together. After all, they are also members of the Song family in the final analysis. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.